So far, so good. Can you? Oh, okay. It's gone now? Okay. All right. So that's good. I can hear you. You can hear me. It says that the NWR Twitch stream is about to go live. And okay, there it is. I can hear myself. Um, Let me see if I can hear. Yep. Okay, so we are live. That's good. I'm going to take it down in a minute because technically speaking, it's not supposed to start until 1. But I want to try to get John. I want to see, John, if I can get your audio in there. Let me see if I can just get the audio from Discord and nothing else. Things are working with the exception of maybe the chat recording bot, which is like, okay, that's not so bad. We could solve that. And I gave us, so if you looked at the schedule, it says it starts at 1, but really it starts at 1:30. I just want the Discord audio. I don't want anything else. I might not be able to do that, or at least not easily. But that's okay. I can live with that. I can live with that. That would be fine. All right, so if you are not John or myself, are you able to unmute yourself? You could. Yeah, those are also good questions. You could just post it. I can hear you. So Mr. Glub Glub can't hear anything. That's not ideal. I can hear you the whole time. Yeah. Yes. You're louder. Uh okay. The question is, all right, Greg, can you speak? Or do I have to unmute you? Yes, you can. Good. I might still have us record our stuff, just to save myself from myself, which is always fun. Um, Cannot unmute. Can't hear John. Perfect. Great. Well, they could hear you. Okay, so that's good. So that works. You might want to turn off the push or the delay. John is not going to Twitch though. Correct. I have not set that part up yet. Um, John should now be going to Twitch and Greg, and they're not going to talk. So that's cool.
Well, I mean, I was mucking around with Audacity and it muted me for some reason. It
Oh,
muted my
good.
headset. It was really weird.
Good. More things that can go wrong. Perfect.
Yep, it's great.
So
Yeah.
you're saying you want to do we do local recordings as backup or what?
Yeah, I think we'll do local recordings as backup. So I'm trying to get the Craig bot online. So that'll record everybody in the chat, but just to be safe.
I'm sorry for showing up just 5 minutes
Five.
before the event.
Well, technically speaking, we're not streaming yet, so that's fine. I mean, we are live and people can hear us.
Mm-hmm.
But
I mean, you're a jerk, Guillaume, for just casually strolling in here. This savoir faire, if you will.
I set the Jesus. I set the schedule to say we're going to start at 1, but really we're going to start at 1:30 because tech problems will happen.
Sweet.
At this point, we've only got 1, which means they might get a lot of music because there's not much to do if we're just waiting for the clock to tick. I have created a very like lo-fi splash screen on the Twitch page.
So you said we should record locally then?
Yes, just to give extra cover. But we're not starting for like another 30 minutes, so you don't have to start recording right now.
Okay.
The faffing about bit's not going to be in the audio. So this is
this gold we're losing.
Yeah, this is
riches.
Well, that's the goal, is to lose the gold.
Okay.
So if we get that set up, we'll be good to go, and we might play some music, and I don't know, or just shoot the shit while we wait. Basically, what we do,
just text me when you want me to talk.
Okay,
ya.
all right, okay.
Kidding. I just need to go get water.
Yeah, no, like y'all are good. I wanted to test to make sure all the functionality was working, that people can come into the chat. Seren, there is more WikiHow art coming. Don't worry. They're on Twitch, but they're very quiet. Oh, interesting. Interesting.
Maybe I want to be very quiet. Maybe I don't want you to hear me.
Well, that's fair, but you shouldn't be quiet. You should be perfectly volumed.
All right. Not the first time I've heard that.
All right. Let's try that now. Let's see if y'all are louder now.
Am I louder now?
Oh, God, you're louder in my ears. Jesus Christ. I got to turn my headphones down. Good God. You were extremely loud.
Get loud, yes.
Okay, yep, no.
Play loud, as they say.
Can confirm.
John is advertising the clear Game Boy Color right now.
Yes,
Yeah.
I am.
Oh, hey, Craig's here. That's good. God, y'all are so loud in my ears now. Jesus. All right, I gotta do something. All right, let me take y'all down.
You could turn down the volume on your headset.
Well, no, so I had to turn up the volume on my PC. So that was what was buffering y'all down. So I'm having to turn down the volume on the mixer that I've got my headphones plugged into. It's great. It's great. I'm in love with all of this. None of this could go wrong. Nothing. I'm actually worried that things kind of just worked. Like, that actually is not correct. This is not functionally accurate. I guess the other question I've got for y'all, since we're not technically starting the show yet or not, I finished the game last night, and
You want us to explain the ending to you? Kirby goes back to Dreamland.
Oh, okay. All right, good.
Yeah,
No, I would,
I
I'm
was
going to be
confused.
doing a YouTube video about that.
Oh, okay.
The ending explained, so I can't give away the trade secrets. Here.
is the thumbnail going to be an immediate spoiler for the final boss?
Well, also just like me with an incredulous look on my face.
Right, yeah,
It's
and a
like,
red
whoa,
arrow
I
pointing at
can't.
nothing.
I can't believe this ending, but come on this journey with me, and you too will eventually understand it.
I guess that means that Kirby remains a clay object, though, or was he not transformed? Is this not like a Epic Yarn scenario where he was transformed into Yarn? Is the clay just the medium?
No, it's not, is it? No, it's just that because the whole thing is that the color is robbed from the world. I think everything's just clay, regardless.
This is not such a long game that you should forget the premise by the time that you finish it. I'm not sure what happened here.
I'm allowed.
They kind of forget. We had an email with a bunch of observations and sort of experiences of playing the game, and one of the things that was mentioned in that is that they kind of forget about this whole like, oh, the color's gone from the world and you've got to bring it back, because it's like, well, you go to another place, another dimension or whatever, to chase the person who did it that hasn't had the color robbed from it. So other than those little like exclusion zones where you can't draw the lines, it's just kind of, oh yeah, that is the point. Like, that is the ostensible goal of the game, is to bring color back to Kirby's home. But it's pretty incidental.
Yeah, the opening
Like,
scene.
oh yeah, by the way, this was fixed. See ya.
Yeah. Also, here's a shitload of apples for your trouble. I mean, I want to point out that they can create anything they want, and they're like, yeah, Kirby just wants apples. It's fine. I feel like he needs an agent. Scott Boras isn't going to let him work for apples. He's going to make a shitty pun about Kirby, and then like, hey, to the media about it. Oh my God, it's
Scott Boras repping Kirby. I like
Can
it.
we get Drew Rosen was too busy saving someone's life in a pool or whatever it was? Remember that thing?
oh God. This is Boris season, and it's anytime he has a just like all right, I need to go find there's got to be somebody has to have created a list of Scott Boras puns. They're just so bad. All right, here we go. So this is Xander Bogaerts, who, as he was currently negotiating for him to come to the Red Sox this offseason, quote, on the Red Sox engagement with Xander Boras, quote, Xander Bogaerts, everyone knows the Sox without an X are so-so.
Wow.
This is what he does all the time. This is it.
Oh, wow.
Was he like a tabloid journalist before he was an agent or something?
I don't know.
The only
He's
people
insufferable.
who take that kind of professional commitment to the worst wordplay so seriously.
It's so bad. Like the baseball Discord just gets excited when they're like, all right, let's rate our Scott Boras puns for the year. Also on Xander, quote, this is the first time teams have had a chance to sign the X-Man. I think they're finding it to be a Marvel opportunity. Xander has a very...
Jesus Christ. Again, it's like these are the sorts of puns that, again, appear in news articles about things when they don't know anything about the subject at hand. They actually lack the requisite knowledge to write the story.
I need to fill page.
They attempt to compensate for that by just doing wordplay, and it's like, look, no, I do know this story is about a football stadium getting built because I used the word fumble when I would have used something else. It's just you don't do that when you're the fucking agent. You know everything about this man, presumably.
Mm-hmm.
Things that the public must never know, included. But
it's like, yeah, with Xander, I also don't want this contract to put him in a cage.
Oh God! So no, it's worse because the quote that I just read continues. This is on Xander Bogaerts. Xander has a very famous Uncle Humphrey, and he certainly left a lot of memories. Kid, there's going to be a lot of teams looking at you. I mean,
my God.
At some point, you got to wonder if they cry for help.
They are. I mean, this page has like 40 of them. God. Taijuan Walker, spelled Taijuan. Taiwan is on an island, and I think the only question is who is willing to pay. Yeah, it's bad. This is what he does. So he's now repping Kirby.
He's a monster.
He is a monster. Everything people say about Rosenhaus in terms of like his damage to the no. Let me introduce you.
Like who makes puns like that? Like they're terrible. Like I'm sure like anybody from the press covering him is just like just looking at their watch like, all right, man, make your horrible puns. Come on, we know you want to do it. No, I'm not going to make any puns this time. Come on.
Well,
I got a couple.
I think they're thrilled because it's free content. They don't have to write anything.
They're such groaners, though. They're such groaners. It's like it's.
Oh, they're terrible.
You know?
The other situation you get wordplay like that is with stories involving pets or animals in general.
Exactly.
You know, it's just a cat saved someone's life, or so. It's they were the perfect choice. Save the day. It's just,
are you sure you're not writing for Scott Boras?
There we go.
Well, I mean,
I
don't. If I didn't think this was possible, but if I do hate myself a bit more in the future, then perhaps I will apply for that position. It's just like when there's nothing there. We've got nothing. It's just like the puffiest puff piece in the world. I just like the implication is that he thinks his clients are insubstantial. I don't know. You've got to puff them up with this sort of shit. If I was his client, I'd be like, look, you want to do that with everybody else? Fine, don't do it with me. knock that shit off.
It's so bad and so good at the same time. Seren has just linked me to the Kirby and the Rainbow Curse review with just a note that says the image captions. I'm going to wait until we get started to open that up. I'm going to bring in somebody to talk for a minute just to make sure I can unmute. I'm going to regret this. Can I unmute these people? Let's see. Maybe? Right now they're muted, but it does not say muted. So that's neat. Can I unmute them? This could be an issue. If I do that, does that work? No. Maybe. Oh, they might be muted themselves. Huh. According to the settings, I should be able to do this. And yet, okay, no. Can I make them talk? Can I force them to talk? This is a challenge. This is a challenge I did not anticipate. If you are in the chat and understand how I can force someone to speak, please let me know. You can't force unmute. Okay. Gotcha. All right. Seren, would you mind unmuting so I can try to unsuppress you? Which, I don't know, having the capacity to suppress feels, wonderful.
Speech should be free, James.
No. That's how we end up with bad retroactives. Suppressing blocks unmute. How do I unsuppress then? Might be role-based. It is role-based, but I should be able to. All right. Well, I have access to edit the channel, so let's do permissions. All right. So, at everyone cannot manage the channel. They cannot manage permissions. They cannot manage webhooks. They cannot create invites. They can't connect. They cannot speak. Until somebody with the mute members permission unmutes them. Use voice activity. Okay, that's push to talk. Can they send messages? I'm fine with them being able to send messages. Links. Reactions. Okay. Sure. That's fine, I think. So if I'm going to do something I'm going to definitely regret in a second. I'm going to move them to gray. So enabled, disabled. So they have enabled and they have disabled, and then they have a middle one that's a gray slash, and I'm not sure what that means. All right, I've just gray slashed speaking.
No, is what it means.
It's a setting. Settings have on and off. They can't have a third setting. It's like sort of off.
Standby or something?
I don't know.
Maybe it's
still suppressed.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Maybe is it like a test mode or something where like you can hear it but nobody else can or something?
I can mute people, but I can't The third setting is called maybe or random. Guys, it's not helping. If you know the answer to this question, I would appreciate it. But otherwise, come on. Let's see. Create invite. No, I don't want them doing that. So call in guest. So call in guest should be able to speak. Save changes. All right. What if I do this? What if I make call in guest can speak? Okay. I think the only person who has the call-in guest status is Seren. She does have it. All right, Seren, can you unmute yourself now? You all make jokes that he thought this would go swimmingly, and he's like everything's going great, nothing could go wrong. I believe my exact phrasing was, boy, this is going really well, it's going to be a disaster.
I can unmute.
Hey,
You have required push to talk.
Oh,
Whoa!
now
Why?
that was Craig. That was Craig. Craig's talking.
Call-in guest is required to use push to talk.
Good. All right.
Yeah, it's my fault, as Reg McFly said. I'm doing this.
Okay. Well, that's good. All right. So green means you can talk. So what's the one that lets me say, like, I want to give someone the ability to talk?
No, this is the ability to talk. I came in. I had to leave and rejoin, and then I was muted, and then I had to click unmute.
Gotcha. So there's not a setting where, like, what I was trying to think of is there a setting I can set where everyone is muted and I have the ability to give them the permission to speak, or do I have to just change their role?
You have to change their role.
Gotcha. So I'm going to have to de-call in guest people.
Yes. So call-in guests have the right to are unsuppressed, which means they can unmute or mute at any time.
Gotcha.
Everyone else is forcibly unable to unmute. And then, yeah, that's basically the gist of it.
Okay. I was hoping there was a setting where it's like they could come in and listen, and then I can give them the ability to speak.
Yeah, that's what the role is.
Okay.
Next one of these we do, it's going to be in Teams.
Teams does have that power.
Yeah.
And I know Teams, which is the worst part. All right, so that's working. Craig is working.
Were you asking about Discord settings?
Yes.
You just got here.
Oh, yes. I'm trying to figure out how to set it up where people can come in and I can just right-click to let them speak and then right-click to stop them. Or do I just have to use a role that has the permission to speak?
You should already have that. Can you not do that?
I have a role that lets people speak, but I can't unsuppress someone unless I'm missing it.
Okay, let me look at the settings real quick. That you should have been. That should be really easy to do. I just don't know off the top of my head why it's not.
Because there's the mute checkbox, which is unchecked for people who are muted. Which I guess.
You want me to give it to? Do you want me to give these permissions to all of staff or just you?
All the staff is fine.
Okay.
There's no way I'll regret this decision.
I'll just.
So I can definitely put people into the stream if I want to.
And so if you right click on someone, it doesn't. There's no option to just.
Oh, I have GX in front of me. I have mute, but it's unchecked. So what would I be looking for?
I think that should have been it. Let's see, edit permissions.
I muted GX and then I unmuted him.
Maybe.
Can you remove the requirement for call-in guest roles to use?
I did. So you might need to come back out and go back in.
Okay. I think. I might have an idea what's.
Okay, yeah. Leaving and rejoining worked.
Y'all can't make fun of us for this because the technical starting time is 1:30. This isn't part of the show. This is the planned tech problems. I planned for tech problems, therefore it is fine.
It's also my fault. So
this is the hey, I should probably start putting this together on Wednesday. I did make I took Raritan's RFN moving image and have increased its capabilities. I have armed it with new tech. I haven't looked at the Twitch chat in a while. I wonder what's going on there. Not much.
Hey, James.
Yes.
in the voice texting channel, why do I have the option to stop Craig's recording?
I don't want that. I do not. Please don't do that.
Why
not-
do you?
I'm not going to, but it's a very good question. Is it because I'm friend of the site?
Maybe
No.
it might be whatever I did to make it so you can just terrorize me on streams.
No.
Fuck yeah.
Oh. Hopefully that's because only staff should have that. So hopefully it's just you.
I like John's over there just declaring no.
I mean, staff should be
This
able
site
to.
has no
Is that
friend.
because nope, not even close. Revoked.
Can anyone else look at the voice texting channel if you see one and see if there's a stop recording button? No more says big red button that says stop recording.
That's
Oh,
bad.
Eh,
We don't want that.
let's learn something real quick. Can someone that's not supposed to be able to see that button try to press that button and let's see what happens?
I just did it. Okay, I just got a notification saying you need to manage server permission or have an access role to manage recordings.
Okay.
All right, that's good. That's good.
So I can see
Okay.
the stop recording button, but I can't press it. It is forbidden.
Yeah. Okay. So
Yeah, it's just tantalizing to keep you interested.
No.
Yeah.
Now the risk here is Guillaume just decides like, nah, this Kirby conversation is not worth it anymore.
hmm
oh yeah, that I wouldn't.
Yeah,
vote for.
you guys better have the correct opinions. Otherwise,
Or no one will ever hear them. I'll have to rescue the audio from the Twitch VOD, which will sound extra high quality.
I actually don't know what the correct opinion on this game is.
I don't either.
I'm very confused.
It's
I just
the
listened
correct
to,
recording is Zach Miller's opinion from 7 years ago.
Okay.
7.5.
Oh, yeah, that's dangerous. So I was actually just gonna have the game running in attract mode to as just like video, since I didn't have any video until Raritan managed to dig out the old RFN like background video for when we were putting episodes on YouTube. But then I realized that the gamepad would die about halfway through the episode, so I was gonna have to have the gamepad far away, and I'm not sure that the game would stay awake. So I guess we're gonna have to go with what I've created instead, which is definitely not bad. Unlike the TSI on the website, which is very bad. Oh no. I should probably move that to the big one with the word live on it, I guess. And then I can move it back down later. Because we are technically live now, I guess. There.
I think I've figured out what to do. I just need to do it.
If I just have to move people to roles, it's not the end of the world, because I can always kick them out of the roles when I don't want them to talk anymore.
But what if they have to leave in order for the new role change to...
I can mute them too.
Good, okay.
Actually, let me try something. I'm going to mute you real quick. See if you can unmute yourself.
Okay.
Just to make sure that we don't step into some role where I can't control things. All right, I have muted Seren. Seren, are you able to unmute yourself? I'm going to take...
she is not muted at all. The one that just says mute, it's muting for you. Server mutes for everyone.
Oh,
I was going to say, nothing changed.
you're not going to say anything now.
well, that's the thing. Like we heard her, but you didn't.
Correct, but now I've hit server mute.
Okay.
Further complicating things is I see Stern Dog just connected and does not appear to be muted. Is that
Neat.
true?
The Stern Dog know that? Are we just going to hear
I don't know.
hear Stern Dog's background noise?
I don't know.
Maybe we should remove... All right, I've unmuted
Okay.
Seren.
Thank you.
Were you...
Yeah, server mute. I'm forced. It just says, an admin has to unmute you now.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that held.
Okay. I have not heard Stern Dog speak. I don't know if they just don't have a microphone set up, but maybe...
Maybe that is very weird.
Well,
if
you can server mute everyone and then use that to unmute people in the meantime.
I see Dave97 also just disconnected and rejoined. They don't appear to be muted, but I have not heard them.
Spooky.
I'm scared.
Can somebody who is in the chat right now, who is not staff, attempt to unmute themselves and speak?
Testing 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, that works. All right. Well, that's not ideal.
What the hell is this supposed to? How's this supposed to work?
Okay, so if you're in the chat right now, we can hear you. So keep that in mind.
Oh, wait. Da-da-da. Okay. So
I should probably mute the audio on the Discord. I mean, on the Twitch, just in case somebody comes and says something.
Okay, so people who aren't supposed to be able to speak should be muted now.
Okay, that's good.
How do we unmute them is the question.
Yeah, so
I also happen to be on mobile, so that makes this whole thing
real
way
quick, there's
worse.
two solutions. The first is, as everyone's pointing out in the Twitch chat, there's a stage. This is what stages are for on Discord. So
It is. I've just literally never used those, so I'm scared of it.
that could work. The other one is, and this is not ideal because this will force people to have to listen through Twitch, but you could just move everyone to a waiting room and drag people in and drag people out of the waiting room.
Yeah. I mean, the other option is that I just manually assign them the role. But what I am seeing is that when I click right-click, assign or roles, I don't see that as a role I can assign.
I can make that real quick. Right now the only it's just like staff and Seren that can do it.
Okay.
But I can just make one.
Yeah, because we have the
Actually, what is the role that I gave Seren?
call-in guest. There's friend of the
Does she
site,
have
call-in guest are the two roles that Seren has.
Yep. For some reason, Discord isn't showing Seren on the connected list for me.
Fuck yeah! I'm a
Mobile
ghost.
Discord really very good at this.
Ghosts in the machine.
Yes, no, I am friend of the site and call-in guest.
So-
No one else is call-in guest. No one else is friend of the site. I have two unique
getting-
roles.
I'm getting the impression that mobile Discord is just kind of broken. So
That's good.
And that's what I'm on at the moment. I'm currently about 20 minutes away from home.
Okay.
In a parked car, so I can get a more sophisticated solution going when I get home. But for now, I can just make a role that just lets you speak in this channel, and then you can give that role out as needed.
Okay. Yeah, that
Okay.
works.
And I think the call-in guest role already exists, right?
But it's not letting me assign it to people.
Okay.
So if I click them, well, Seren's doesn't
I
work.
think
Yeah,
in
don't,
stats.
I'm a bad example for this.
And I say, I right click them and I say, I don't,
I think the staff role isn't allowed to manage user roles, and only Justin can do that. I can't even. Well, no, I can do that, but I can't let someone else be able to do that.
I see. Bummer. Well, so, all right, so here's the thing. We're not going to do call-in guests for a while.
Okay.
So we can solve this later.
Okay. Then if you don't need it for like 20 more minutes at least,
Yeah.
I'll be home in time to fix it.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Cool.
All right. We'll
Go
make
get some Taco Bell. I don't know.
we'll make
I'm gonna honor system. Just stay muted.
Okay, thank you. All right, I think that's good enough. I think we're okay. I'm going to fire up some. All right, so let's do a real quick audio test before we step away for a minute to get whatever warmed up we need. Can each of the four of you say a little bit, and people tell us if the volumes are about the same?
Kirby is for grown-ups, not kids. Certainly not babies.
Okay,
James Jones is a man of the people.
it's true.
Rubber baby buggy bumpers.
Perfect. Everything I could have wanted. All right, so
Both John and Greg sounded
a little quiet.
quieter than you.
Chat. What do y'all have? Both in the Discord and on the Twitch. Greg was the lowest. Okay.
Yeah, my mic input's already maxed out, so.
All right. Let me see what I can do there. I was the loudest, which makes sense.
Am I louder now?
Maybe.
It is
If
possible.
so, barely perceptibly.
I'm pretty much maxed out here. Like I am.
Just
maxed
as
out.
a note for how Discord works, anyone that's like listening through the Discord call has their own individual volume settings for all users.
Right. You can open them up in slots. Like I just increased Greg's audio a little bit on the Discord side so that when it went out to Twitch, it'd be a little bit louder. And I'll do the same for John. And that way, and if you're listening, you can do that too. So you can just click on Greg and like move his slider up a little bit. And then I'll turn John's way down.
Good call. Good call.
Yeah, I just, it's for the kids. I have no concept on what that means. How do you do that on mobile? I don't know. Maybe long tap somebody's name. So the Twitch stream should be better now. So the audio should be about even. If I am too loud, let me know. I can drop mine down a little bit. God damn it, GX. If you're in the general chat right now, it's a nightmare. I'm extremely upset. All right, I should probably tweet that we're live, huh? Yeah, I should do that. I'm going to steal GX's image. And then why don't we take a 5-minute break, and then we will get started. I'm going to mute everything over here. Cool?
Sounds good.
All right.
I was starting to wonder if I had missed instructions.
You have not. I got to reset all the settings.
All right.
All right.
There we go. Yeah, it took me a little bit to get the tweet out, so by the time I got it out and then wanted to use the restroom, I went late. I was a minute late getting back.
Let me see this. I got to put this out on Mastodon, for all of the thousands on Mastodon.
For all 5 people on the Mastodon. How many Mastodon followers do you have?
What are you
Sure,
like?
sure you don't want to just maybe you could go door to door. It might be quicker.
How many?
Took you just a minute to put that tweet out, huh, James? Just a minute.
Just a minute. You don't like? I can take it down.
No. I don't care. It's perfectly fine. I just find did you have that picture lying around?
No, GX made it. He just posted it in the Discord.
Man,
He made it while we were doing Tech Talk.
you people got problems.
Yeah, we know. They're here. They're here. We know they have problems. I might need to take my audio down. I might be hot. Let me take myself down a little bit. There we go. All right. Just one last check. Can somebody who's watching in the Discord confirm things seem reasonably good? Can't hear on Twitch. Great. All right. Perfect. Thank you. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and actually I wanted to record this Audacity too. So let's go ahead and we'll even put the clap in the thing. So I might just replace the audio in the thing we get from Craig with the audio from us, because the new Audacity makes that super easy, whereas the old one used to make that a nightmare. Because I can literally just drop the file in and just drag it around the timeline. It'll move the whole thing. Like it's on a slider. So I don't have to import the music and then go I need 1 hour, 22 minutes, and 7 seconds of silence. I just go click, drag. Which seems like it's a minor thing, but when you're putting a bunch of music in, like I did the last episode I edited, or like the Xenoblade Chronicles 3 spoiler cast, I'm already still editing a week after we recorded it. Yeah, it's a blessing, especially because I think right now there's 9 tracks.
Or is it a curse? A rainbow curse?
Hey-o. All right, let's start recording before we get any other good head gold like that lost to time. This is mostly just backup anyway, unless what I get from Craig sounds like crap. So
Yeah, I'm over here dropping dimes. All right.
All right. Well, I'm recording.
Recording.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We've had worse. I mean, this is that moment where we're we're recording an episode on Discord, and we've been doing it on Skype for 15 years, and every time we record on Skype, we go God, we're so old.
Yeah.
At some point, whoa. I got grizzled all of a sudden. That was
Yeah.
No, that was
Who,
good.
me?
Yeah. It got real bassy.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's good. It makes me wonder if maybe
I've seen some shit, James.
I've seen. Yeah, we all have.
Mhm.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and make sure I'm not clipping, and I appear to not be clipping. Maybe a little bit of clipping, but that's acceptable clipping. And then everything seems good over here. I have an unread message on Discord. Great, everything's awesome. We're doing good. Perfect. Great. Craig should line things up. The recorded audio is just to protect us in case something shitty happens. Because it could happen. All right. So let's go ahead and get. That was probably a soft open. So let's just go ahead and get started. Hello and welcome to Radio Free Nintendo. It is December 10th, 2022, and this is episode 800. If I had forgotten the episode number here, y'all could have made fun of me forever. Not that you need a reason. I'm joined today by Mr. John Lindemann.
Who is here on time? Actually,
Early.
more than on time.
Early. Yeah, you were not just
Yes.
early, early. You were here before the early start.
Yeah, I was here with you, bro. Just showing solidarity.
You have literally never
Yeah.
called me bro ever. And I would like that to have been the last time it happens, please. Also, Also joined by Mr. Greg Leahy.
Ahoy, ahoy, everyone.
And Mr. Guillaume Vayette.
Hello, hello.
And we are here to do... Oh, God damn it. All right, this is an extra degree of challenge because now I've got a Discord I'm looking at and a Twitch chat, and I'm trying to also host a podcast. So my attention deficit is going to really go poorly today. So y'all can hear... I mean, honestly, Radio Free Nintendo, like it normally does. We're here to do a live retroactive on Kirby and the Rainbow Curse, which is a game that we selected through an exhaustive process of us game theorying at each other to try to pick a Wii U game to celebrate the 10th anniversary of the Wii U's launch and the 9th anniversary of the Wii U's death. So we picked this one in part because it was available, and in part because it does make use of the Wii U's features. It's not been anywhere else, and it's not likely to go anywhere else. We also felt like we could do a little bit with Canvas Curse. Or, Greg, what are my European titles I'm dealing with here?
So it was Power Paintbrush, I believe, was the title for Canvas Curse in Europe. Yeah, and then is it just Rainbow Paintbrush for this one as opposed to Rainbow Curse?
Gotcha.
I believe.
I mean, do the British not like curses?
Yeah, you always have to wonder with the European titles back then whether it was something that you imagine it was an issue of what would work across the whole territory. Like that was pretty. I assume it still is to a degree, but I feel like once we entered the social media age, those sorts of concerns got superseded by we don't want to confuse people about what the name is. We want one name kind of out there, visible to everybody, because they used to delight in it with so many things. Just call it Yoshi's Universal Gravitation. That's what the Japanese name translates to.
Imagine just telling like your grandmother to buy me Yoshi's Universal. Who knows what game you're getting for Christmas? There's no way to know. It could be anything.
So I do feel like they, even probably by the time that this particular, the Rainbow Curse came out, they probably kind of moved on from that. But because it is a callback to a previous game, essentially it's a sequel to that game, they obviously felt like they needed to, put Paintbrush in there. Otherwise, it would be lost on people.
So I guess I want to start a little bit talking about the Wii U experience. I know some of us have been using the Wii U intermittently for the last few years. I hadn't powered mine on in 3 years. I know, John, you had gone a long time as well.
Yeah, I'd gone about a year, I think. I power mine up from time to time, usually to check something. But yeah, it had been a while. I mean, I think the last time I really powered it up for anything was to download some stuff from the eShop, just in the sort of like the eShop is going away kind of frenzy.
I was just told I forgot to switch from the starting soon screen. So there we go. Now we've got the live screen. Now we've got the live Twitch new image using John Raridan's moving image and new. Somebody complained there wasn't enough WikiHow art in the splash screen. Well, here's your WikiHow art. So yeah, I guess I kind of want to talk a little bit about the Wii U because we did do this in memoriam of, I don't know what term you want to use, of the Wii U. And so like just to give people some context on what, what that experience was like. I turning on my Wii U for the first time, I just forgot how... And we talked about this on, I think it was 797 or so. Just how slow everything is. Everything is so unimaginably slow.
Mm-hmm.
I kept trying to put the gamepad in sleep mode. I was like, well, I don't want to have to reboot this. Let me just put it in sleep. Oh, right. Doesn't have one.
Yeah. It's very much a Switch progenitor,
Yeah.
Like you can see the concepts, that you can see the ideas that they're going for, but they're just all executed clumsily, or just like you said, in a very slow archaic manner.
Yeah, and like it's close enough that Switch muscle memory was kicking in. So like I was going to turn it off and I reached around to the top to press the off button and was met with a headphone jack. And I was like, "Oh, that's not going to do anything." Cool. Especially because I've got that grip on my Switch, so it does feel even more like the gamepad. It feels better than the gamepad, but it does feel even more like the gamepad. It's yeah, you're right. It is very much like I don't like calling it a prototype because we've talked about this at the time. The tech that they were using to stream video, especially at that point, was kind of nuts. But at the same time, it was it worth it? Like was it worth it? Is this compared to what we ended up with? Obviously, the Switch is a better solution.
I'm pretty sure I know what Nintendo's answer would be on that.
No.
It was like, Wii U what? We don't know what you're talking about.
I feel like we are legally obligated to acknowledge that we did make that, and that is the end of the conversation.
Yeah. So do you think it's a which is the bigger failure, Virtual Boy or Wii U?
Well, I don't think they never had as many eggs in the Virtual Boy basket as they did the Wii
that's
U.
right. Obviously, you look at just the paltry sales, like truly paltry. Is it not even like 500,000 of Virtual Boy, like compared with what, like somewhere around 14 for Wii U? You know, you could say, well, oh goodness me, you know, Wii U. You know, think of how many more games there are for Wii U. You know, and all that kind of stuff, and how many more actually enjoyable experiences there are on Wii U, presumably. Having never had the pleasure of playing Virtual Boy myself, but given the brevity of its life and the relatively small number of titles and all that, then you know you could certainly could say that, Virtual Boy's a bigger failure, but you know, as Guillaume pointed out, it's the fact that in many ways Virtual Boy was kind of sent out to die, seemingly. You know, it's just it'd been in development, sort of purgatory at the very least, for quite a while, and at some point Yamauchi, the leadership of the company, says that, look, this just needs to ship and we'd be done with it.
Right.
Yeah,
and they were done with it. That was not the attitude with Wii U. The attitude with Wii U is we are following up one of our most successful products ever, and we are, giving it the same branding, in a very, very bungled way that didn't actually signal properly that is what they were doing. But clearly, the aspirations were so much greater, and they fell therefore so much more short of those aspirations that it's probably the most meaningful way that you could say it was a bigger failure than the Virtual Boy.
And they had an obvious out with the Virtual Boy, which was to just not anymore. Whereas with the Wii U, they had no out. The out was they announced they were developing the NX like 4 years before it came out.
Yeah, the out was to vamp for years, basically. To circle, for years until it's like, okay, the actual real take on this concept will now have its chance in the marketplace.
Yeah. And in terms of performance, the market in 1995 was obviously not nearly as large as it was in 2012.
Oh, yes.
So in terms of actually capturing market share, I mean, the Wii U was a massive, massive blunder.
Yeah. Like it was.
Yeah, just the whole fact that it seemed to be thrown out there, like, it was kind of... Nintendo did not put its best foot forward. Like, they seemed to release it maybe a little bit too quickly. People had to download this huge... they had to download the OS basically on the first day. Like, it was a bad experience. And then, there's the fact that... Okay, so a lot of that was marketing, and a lot of that was not the actual reason why they did things that way. But for years and years, Nintendo had been like, yeah, we're sticking with cartridges because of load times. Yeah, the GameCube discs are smaller because of load times. And then the Wii U comes out, and it's like, yeah, people want load times, huh? Like, it's just...
Take your load times, suckers!
We've been...
Yeah, you're going to have more load times than ever before.
They were saving them for a rainy day.
Yeah, and just And just like a year late, I don't know what the timeline is. The PS4 came out not long after the Wii U, right?
It's 1 year, I
1
believe.
year.
Like
yeah.
within a year? Yeah, okay. Well, and that had um interrupt. Like that had you could put the console to sleep and
Right.
then, wake it up and then pick up the game where you had left it. And that was so much more of a kind of the kind of feature that I would have liked that I would have expected from Nintendo. Like there were always like, yeah, like it's about the games, it's about getting in and out of the games quickly. They should have had something like this, and instead they had 30 seconds to start your Wii U, which was not great.
If you're lucky. I mean, we talked about this a couple weeks ago where they had to literally add the splash screen on the gamepad before the OS booted so you could bypass a bunch of loading just to get into the game quicker. I've been using that to get into Rainbow Curse. It's just like, all right, I'm going to start. That way I don't have to boot to the screen, which is that long loading sequence, and then a second loading sequence to get into the game. And then Rainbow Curse actually has a third. So it loads to the splash screen. So there's a load to get to the splash screen, which is just this claymation image. And then once it gets there, there's more loading. And then you get to the menu, and then there is loading. And it's like,
Oh
well,
yeah,
that's...
like it preloads it doesn't preload anything, but
No.
it basically what you get is I don't know, you skip a few steps, but you still get to load the initial load time for the Wii U, and then all the loading for any individual game.
Yeah, it's
So
brutal.
you might be there for a while. Yeah.
It's kind of amazing how much I've acclimated myself to just picking up a game and playing it and putting it down in really short bursts, which is not something that historically you would be able to do. But games had explicit I am on, I am off state. I save, I go. But like it's actually playing Rainbow Curse has been a little bit frustrating to fit into time sometimes because it's like, okay, I need to set aside 4 minutes to get into the game.
Yeah, and Lord knows you can't walk away from your TV because that's you got about 10 feet before that game is shutting off.
Pretty much. I
But I do see on Discord the Noir Vert. I don't know.
Yeah.
But someone says like I do miss a lot of the audiovisual aspects of the Wii U, and I did as well. And Karen, like when she heard the plaza noises, was like, I missed this. Yeah. Well, it's got I don't know. It's got so much more personality.
Oh, yeah.
The
Does.
UI than
Absolutely.
the Switch does.
Yeah.
The Switch
And
is
I miss all of the sort of me kind of stuff. I miss that kind of that street pass philosophy sort of thing. Like we're gonna throw in some weird kind of things to get you out and about with this particular piece of hardware, right?
Gold Pants Reggie is still walking around my Me Plaza. He hasn't worked for Nintendo for like 4 years. But he's still just wandering around lost, advocating for some bullshit that's not relevant anymore.
That's the other dimension, that Reggie lives in. There's way more out there than you think, James.
It's like there's way more Reggies or way more dimensions.
Both.
Oh, good.
Both. There's probably like a gold pants, green pants, blue pants, glittery pants.
I mean, the gold pants are pretty good. They do glisten. Yeah. They sparkle. Also, the fact that Nintendo decided the way that you should know these are authentic Miis is by them having golden pants is truly a choice. I
suppose we should all be grateful that it didn't last long enough that you had to pay. Anybody could pay $8 to get gold.
Yeah, I mean, well, nowadays I guess those would be probably NFT Reggies, right?
Oh,
$8 gold pants definitely should be the title of the episode now.
I mean, it's now a candidate for sure. God. So we of course, speaking of Reggie, got to see him on Thursday with I can't believe we're still fucking making my body is ready jokes. Like fucking new memes. New
Yeah.
I mean, Schwarzenegger did Terminator in '84.
I know.
We're still doing I'll Be Back, so I mean, it's
it's not going to stop you. You're right, Greg.
Do you think that whoever wrote those Nintendo Directs like followed Reggie into his new?
I hope so.
This new part of his career.
I hope
so. I need this writer with me to come up with my material.
He was forced to write about Bakugan. Oh God, what a nightmare! Reggie hawked that shitty ass Bakugan game. Anyway, so the other thing that the Wii U has that of course the Switch doesn't is Miiverse, which they hastily patched into 3DS at some point, but it's always kind of a bad fit. 3DS really didn't have the juice.
Yeah, it was another one of those, like several of the games that ended up on 3DS.
Yeah.
Felt like, well, we don't want this to be a total loss. Like, we need to get something out of all the development time and effort that we spent on this. And of course, 3DS had a vastly larger user base than the Wii U did to actually kind of try and see if the Miiverse concept would gain traction and just make it more alive, make it more vibrant and stuff. So, yeah, Mario Maker, Yoshi's Woolly World, all these games that kind of made their way the 3DS and an entire element of like the operating system as well, because again that tells you everything you need to know about how far short they fell of the audience they were looking for with the Wii U itself, that they felt the need to do things like that.
I will say that it was really bad on the original 3DS models trying to do Miiverse. Like, it was slow, it was ponderous. I mean, it really was a bad fit. It did work really well on the new 3DS, though, which I appreciated, because, of course, the new 3DS came out after they had already made that migration. But the best feature was you could take screenshots on 3DS now, because, of course, you could post the screenshots. There is something a little bit forward-looking about the Miiverse, about how the value of the share buttons and what they would be and how they would manifest for games. Now, what Nintendo on Switch realized is that having our own internal social media is dumb, because it's only going to be for the people who are already playing our games. And in fact, they segregated even further. It was who are already in the Miiverse channel for this game on the Miiverse that you could access it from a browser, but primarily you access from one of our devices, versus just throwing things out into the general social media ecosystem and enticing people who haven't already self-selected into these groups. This is, of course, what caused the Yakuza explosion with Zero. Like, just the weird shit going out onto Twitter. Like, people who already knew that series was weird and nonsense, but the addition of the share button on the PS4 really made it easy to throw out things like, for bowling a turkey, you win a turkey, but actually it's a chicken, and also it's alive. And
I imagine the most obvious sort of thing you could look at is with Breath of the Wild, isn't it?
Yes.
Imagine if that only launches on Wii U, how different it is in terms of how much all those various sort of images and whatnot of crazy shit happening in the game with the physics, or encounters with guardians and all these sorts of things are just walled in by Miiverse, versus they reach out to everybody. It's a very different scenario in terms of for awareness of that game and what it is and what was possible in it.
Yeah, and just like the sheer... Because the best part was you just press the button and you hold it. You have to hold it. It's not super great on Switch, but you hold it, and it just saves a clip. That wasn't there at launch, though, was it? Didn't that get patched in later or something weird?
Yeah, I mean, I've never posted any of my screenshots of videos to social media, so I wouldn't know.
What?
It probably did. I'm sure.
Obviously, Zelda has been a evergreen seller and has kind of just kept that's part of what's kept it kind of in the conversation for such a obviously it's been several years now, but even for years, the first few years after it came out, people would find new things that were possible, new bizarre coincidences or confluences of things that could create something funny.
Video recording came 4 months later, Seren says. Early games needed a patch to support it, and some games like Smash still opt out of it, which is great.
Oh yeah, no, Smash has its own thing, isn't it? Where you can do a replay,
right?
Convert it to video, But it doesn't just support the touch the button capture.
Right, and that was why replays aren't always compatible one version of Smash to the other, because they're actually
Yeah,
literally
so which
the
is
data.
why it is important to, if you've got like a replay you cherish for some reason, convert it to video before it gets patched. Yeah, back when the game was getting regularly patched.
The Mario Kart 8 on Wii U, which is its most, that's the number one selling game, right? Yeah. It had its own. It didn't. It kind of used Miiverse, but it also had was the Mario Kart channel or some.
Yeah, that was like kind of a successor to Wii, right? Like, was
Yeah.
there a Mario Kart channel for Mario Kart Wii? I believe so. It was
Mario Kart TV. That's it. And that actually did sort of permeate social media a little bit, because of course they had the weird, like, when you hit somebody and pass them, and the characters would give the looks to each other. Like, that got memed slightly. What I am suggesting is that I regret to inform you that making your game with the power of memes, but not my body is ready memes. We're done. That's cooked. And yeah, Mario Kart Deluxe has outsold the Wii U version 4-1, which honestly actually seems low compared to the install bases of those systems, relatively speaking.
It did sell incredibly well on Wii U relative to its install base.
It was a vehicle to share clips online because the Wii U did not support that functionality.
I think Donald's actually saying that Mario Kart Deluxe has outsold the Wii U hardware.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, software-wise, like, that wouldn't be that impressive compared to the install bases, but if it's outsold the hardware 4-1, that's just stupid.
Yeah, but the Mario Kart 8 attach rate on Wii U was so high. Like,
Right.
they're not; those two things are not as different as one would normally expect.
It's like, can the attach rate be 1? Well, no, but it could get close. Although very briefly, if you recall, at the launch of Switch, the attach rate of Breath of the Wild was over 1.
Yeah, it was easier to get the game than it was to get the system. So people who were looking to buy both at one point had the game, but not the system yet.
Which is kind of amazing that's a scenario that Nintendo's manufacturing even allowed to be possible, but it happened. Mario Kart 8 is probably the closest organic on Wii U of this kind of nonsense, where it wasn't just like a pack-in, although it did eventually become a pack-in.
After I just binged it, and I think I might
Great.
be wrong. I think
Well,
that
no, you binged it, so that's probably wrong. So you're probably right.
That's right.
But you did get points for it. Only 12,000 more searches for another month of Xbox Live.
According to Microsoft Bing, the only search engine that gives me points for me to get Game Pass, 8 million copies were sold worldwide of the Wii U game, and 24 million copies of the Deluxe were sold.
That's a few.
Yeah.
God, it's way more than
Wikipedia
20.
has.
It's
hold
way
on.
more now.
I'll go to the
Wikipedia has
Nintendo
Mario.
master page.
It's over
Wikipedia has
40.
Mario Kart 8 at 8.46 million as of September 30th, 2021.
All right, so we don't have to, like, we can just go to the source. Nintendo publishes that particular number.
Your mysterious sources, James. Whatever.
Hey, did you know we all used to write news for a website that's supposed to source? Name your sources. Name your sources.
Never happened. Never.
This might be a case for not looking at everything that's posted on the Discord, because it's just going to derail everything, like, or something that's not that germane to the topic at hand.
48.41 per Nintendo.
Just passing whether this particular ratio of Mario Kart 8
Right.
is correct. Let's have a little
At any
more
rate,
discipline.
Donald's correct that, like, so MK Deluxe is at over 50 million now.
Yeah,
so yes,
yeah,
it
that's
would be
massive.
4-1 to the Wii U hardware,
God.
or pretty close. So
Yeah. So
so Kirby.
So I want to do one more thing on the Wii U real quick before we jump to Kirby. Just to kind of close the book on the Wii U. We did kind of a retrospective on the Wii U a number of years ago, but I did want to just kind of touch on, like, we said it earlier that while the Wii U itself was not a great success, there were a great number of games on it that were really, really good. So, like, just real quick, like, just throw out a couple that are like these are my like most I don't know, cherished memories sounds a little bit too like we're talking about somebody who died, but I guess we kind of are, so we can go with that. Um, of like games for the Wii U, like I can just go with mine, where it's Xenoblade X, which is a game that I still think about years on, like just sit there and go like, God, that game was really something else, wasn't it? What an absolute experience. And then it's not my favorite game on the system, but Mario Maker was such a good combination of form and function that I'm still kind of blown away by how good it felt and how much fun it was and how creative the whole experience was. You know, what are we on? 6 years on at this point? That it really left an impression, to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, for me, obviously, Xenoblade X, incredible game. Dumped a whole bunch of time. It pretty much took over my life for about 3 weeks. It's fantastic, but also New Super Mario Brothers U. Also, I always liked how it had kind of a clever use of the sort of social media-ish features, where you could see other people on the map dropping hints for you here and there. I always thought that was really, really cool, and that always stuck with me as just a very novel way of not directly interacting with other players, but kind of watching other players as they progress through the game. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, that I think 3D World had that too, and you could use the stamps and stuff.
Mhm.
Greg?
Yeah, I mean, lots of I played the system a great deal. The fact that it had the off-TV play kind of made it more possible for me to sink a lot of time into some of those games than kind of would have been the case with their kind of equivalents on Wii. And obviously that only became more so when you go to Switch and you get full-fledged kind of portability for these kind of console level experiences. And yet, as you already mentioned, a lot of the games that were particularly enjoyable in that regard, like Xenoblade X and Super Mario Maker, do really, really strong ones. The Miiverse in general, kind of the various ways it was implemented, like with stamps, like being achievements that you could then kind of work into your posts to kind of show off that you've done something. 3D World was really, really great. Game. I still love that. Obviously, it's come back on Switch now. So yeah, there were lots of good things about it about that sort of time. It's just the fortunes of the system were really, really poor, and it did filter down somewhat. You know what I mean? Like the selection of games that you had, the kinds of experiences, definitely did suffer from that because of how unsuccessful it was, and how quickly the third party support got pulled and all that. But I think because of just how much Nintendo did throw at it for a certain number of years, even well past the point that it seemed viable, something like Splatoon, which births a whole series that is really successful. Like they kept putting things on there, and indeed like this game with Kirby,
Right.
it was late enough that
2015.
it's pretty dead, but the fact they kept supporting it, because I guess in some ways it really had not much other choice while they kind of regrouped for NX going into Switch. I don't think it's commercial failure. We were relatively insulated from it, if you know what I mean. Because it was an absolute turbo disaster commercially. But in terms of having things to play due to Nintendo support and indies coming forward on the downloadable scene, was not nearly such a disaster. But not that, again, I'm saying you could like ignore it or that it wasn't a problem, but it was not nearly so bad. Just like kind of because I certainly have a lot of fond memories of playing a very many different games. I think something that did come up when we did the shortlist, because it's not that much of a Wii U game, but like really early on, Bit Trip Runner 2 played an absolute shitload of that, trying to get the high scores and do well on the leaderboards and stuff. Like it just like lots of really good memories.
Yeah, that was
So it's just Runner 2, isn't it? They dropped the bit trip at that point.
They might have. I can't remember exactly the details of the
The bit trip's
naming.
implied.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So, what was exactly the question? Which game we've played the most?
no,
Or
no, just like like a couple games that for the Wii U are for one reason or another special to you.
all right. Weren't they all?
No,
I think that the Wii U might have been
I've
the
got
last
one.
time that I was truly happy. So
Oh, well. All right. Well,
sorry, was that too sad?
I was
There's not even a reaction. Okay, whatever. So yeah, Pikmin 3 would be
It's
on
factual
top
at this point,
there. Xenoblade Chronicles X, and there are so many. It's funny, okay, because I was listening to an old. I was listening to episodes 419 and 420, episodes
Blaze
where I
it.
talked about Kirby's Rainbow Curse on this podcast.
nice.
And during that episode, I'm lamenting that there are not enough co-op games, couch co-op games to play for me and Karen. And so it's funny because I'm thinking back to the Wii U time period right now, and it just seems to me that there's like that's like the golden era. You know, I think of it like, oh yeah, there was so much choice, there was so much stuff was coming out, and compared to today, where it's just a trickle. And I guess like it's always felt like there were not enough co-op games to me, because even back then I was complaining.
It was the whole like it was
But
practically the whole
it
Red
did feel
Zone
like the
death
Wii
of
U,
the
like there was
system.
always a special emphasis. There was always any kind of single player game that you could come up with. Nintendo seemed to be like, yeah, and also we've got some sort of two-player mode. Sometimes it was very much not vestigial, but like very much like tacked on, or an afterthought. But it was still there. I think that's kind of notable.
It was so much a part of the identity of the whole console.
Am I the only
right?
one
The
on the
whole thing is
podcast right
just
now?
like
No, you're not. We're listening.
it was so kind of tied into what the Wii U was commercially,
Hello?
everything about it.
Uh-oh. I think Guillaume can't hear us.
Okay.
Oh,
So
wait.
now I can hear you. Did I just go through like my whole thing and you didn't hear me, or?
No, we were
Oh,
listening.
I can hear
Yeah.
you perfectly well. No, but no, I was just saying the thing about that being the couch co-op kind of halcyon days is that it was so tied into the whole identity of that system. That was the whole
Yes.
point. It's just like, hell, yes, now you could coexist with the people in your house because you can sort of share the sort of living room with them much more happily, because sometimes you can be playing off TV play and they can be watching something else altogether, or it could be that you actually play this kind of game together that you didn't play together before. These sort of different roles that you can have with a separate screen, make things possible that weren't possible before. And obviously that was over pitched. It was also a very uniquely tailored to the Japanese market kind of appeal. I feel like it was really kind of like, okay, why are console sales flagging in Japan specifically?
Mm.
And what can we do to boost that market in a way that probably Sony and Microsoft won't even try. And this is could be an area of comparative advantage for us. And that was their pitch. And of course, like I said, there's a lot of games that at least try and play into that angle, even if, as Guillaume said, sometimes it was a bit kind of perfunctory. It was a bit, kind of like, okay, well, I guess we've got to do something in that vein because that is our whole angle. But it wasn't necessarily all that convincing in the end. And people didn't necessarily respond to it all that sort of strongly either. But that was the whole point of the system, but it does manifest itself here because it's like, okay, you're bringing the DS game, Canvas Curse, to Wii U, and it's like, well, what's one of the big things that we feel we can do here that we couldn't do before, and that is add in the multiplayer with Waddle Dee.
Right.
Right.
Which Guillaume, all right, I guess we can. So somebody just posted the My Memories thing. I only have 712 hours logged on the Wii U, at least as of the last time they updated their numbers, which seems like a low number considering I'm on a Nintendo podcast. So take that as you will. I guess we can start to make our way over. Give me 1 second to tell the Discord thing that I'm working on something. Let's see. So I do this. Cool. All right. So Rainbow Curse. Guillaume, you've already told us that you played it before. Greg, I believe you'd also played it before, correct?
That and Canvas Curse.
And
Yeah,
Canvas Curse.
The game, my old game card of Canvas Curse had it was I think 99% save file still functioning on it. So I must have done a lot of the extra stuff on that because I ran through it on to the credits for this, and like the percentage is like barely anything that you get just for that. Like I think most of the percentage is in getting medals for like the time trial and ink trial modes in that, where you only have a certain amount of ink to draw lines during the kind of you're trying to reach the end. So yeah, there was that. And then for this one, Rainbow Curse again had a 99% file. This time running to the credits and getting most of the stuff along the way, or not being like super thorough or anything. Got to 90. So yeah, it's kind of it shows you kind of different way they tally the percentage or what they emphasize in it or something there.
Yeah, I the Wii U one seems to be a bit more just like most of it is completing the game, because I did not do a completionist run and I got 80% when I hit the end.
Yeah, I got 71% when I hit the end.
So
And I blasted through as fast. I didn't particularly stop and try to get any of the extra stuff. Really, I just went right through.
I wonder if it doesn't count the challenges as part of that percentage.
Yeah,
It
but I mean,
might-
but I can tell you though. I mean, I was at 48%. I think when I was through, I think probably at the start of like World 5, maybe,
Mm-hmm.
or World 6, and I mean, completing the game jumped me up to 71. So the completing the levels is a huge part of the percentage.
Yeah, much bigger than it was with the way they did things on DS. That's for sure. Even though it's like functionally, it's a similar kind of like structure in terms of 3 levels per world, basically. But I think the levels are longer in the Wii U game, for sure. And the biggest difference, really, I guess, is more sort of in the aesthetics, in terms of like, okay, we're actually going to have your traditional like themed worlds in a typical platform game. You know, you go in the sky or in the volcano or whatever else, kind of thing, and like sort of set pieces, and like where you get the big battleship and then you go inside it and then blow it up and come back. Whereas like the DS game is very much just like, okay, pretty abstract. We've got a few different art styles, basically. You've got like a comic book style or a kind of painted style, and they just cycle through those. It's not. It's no real kind of feeling of going on some journey through an actual place or anything. I assume it's probably because it was still. It's in the first year of the DS, so it was still probably quite a kind of like, okay, let's get this out pretty fast. Even though, the irony of it at the time is that it reviewed well in part because it's like, oh, this is so much more of a fully featured game than stuff like Yoshi Touch and Go or whatever,
Right.
which is entirely true. But when you look at it now, sort of relative to the sequel, or just in general, it's like, oh yeah, this wasn't that substantial, was it? Canvas Curse, like it's
Right.
it's very quick just to see the levels get to the end. And I guess there's more there if you want to get into some of those things I talked about, the time trials, the ink sort of well trials. But it's pretty slight. But there's nothing terribly off about that either, because it's a pretty well suited to portable play game.
Yeah, it's I think so. This is my first time dealing with either game in the franchise. I did not end up going to Canvas Curse. I mean, I thought about it, but I was like, let's just get the Rainbow Curse, and we'll. It's just a pain in the butt to put money onto the thing now. I was just like, I'll just go. John, what about you? Do you have Canvas and or Rainbow Curse experience?
No. Well, I had Canvas Curse experience. I couldn't find one of the disconcerting things is I cannot find my Nintendo DS, and I couldn't find Canvas Curse. I know I have that game. For the life of me, I could not find that game because I did play through it and beat it. So I have my DS Fat, and I found my DSi, and which is actually over there on the floor charging right now. Interestingly enough, you can't hook any of these things up to Wi-Fi anymore unless you have some really, really crappy encryption on your router.
Oh,
Right.
So yeah, so I was like, I'm gonna hook this thing up to the internet just to see if I can maybe update it just for kicks, and it's like, no, it can't even see my access point. But yeah, so I did play through Canvas Curse way back in the day. I didn't have any experience with Rainbow Curse, however, so it was a new experience for me.
okay. All right. So moving into the actual game itself, I'm just gonna give everybody a couple minutes. Give your high level thought. John, why don't you go first since you just talked?
My high level thought for this one, probably it varies depending on what level I had just completed. I found that the difficulties sometimes the difficulty level spiked in certain levels. Like there were certain levels, for example, level 6-1 almost made me just want to smash my Wii U into a million pieces. It was really bad, and then it was really funny because I'm thinking like, okay, the rest of the game is just this is going to be some shit. And it wasn't that way at all. Once you get through 6-1, the rest of level 6 is really not that bad. And then I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe it's the sort of thing where the first level of each world is really difficult and then the rest smooths out. But I mean, pretty much all of World 7 was really easy. The final boss was really easy. But then there were other bosses earlier on in the game, like the first like Hoop Lagoon or Heap Lagoon or whatever it's called.
Right.
That boss I have really struggled with. I think just overall, I struggled with the kind of nuances of the controls with the rainbow rope, right? Just very small things. Like I felt like the kind of the hot area where Kirby would grab onto one of the rainbow ropes was very finicky. Sometimes I would, for example, I would know. I always felt like I would know exactly what I wanted to do, but I couldn't just execute it exactly the way the game demanded that I do it. You know, things like, okay, I wanted to get like a rainbow rope line going from the ground of a level, maybe up winding around to the top of a level. And things would happen like I wouldn't put the line below the ground. I would put it just above the ground, and Kirby would just wind up. And when I tapped Kirby to try to put him forward, I would just hit the end or the beginning
It
of
would
the
just
line.
bounce off it.
Yes. Like just a lot of things like that. A lot of kind of fine-grained controls that made things like boss fights really frustrating at times, just trying to get away from bosses. I felt I grappled a lot of the time with just trying to make Kirby go where I wanted him to go when I wanted him to go there. Just, you know, switching directions kind of stuff. And I think I got better with that near the end of the game. But there was a lot of this game where I was just like, man, this is so frustrating. I'm very so-so on it. There were some times where, like, believe me, last night when I was after playing through level 6-1, I was like, this game is so obnoxious. It's one of the most obnoxious games I've ever played. I regret spending money on it. I regret the time I've spent with it. Like, I was just raging. And there were a lot of times when I was just raging at this game. But, like, overall, I mean, it's a neat game. Quick. I mean, I beat it in about 8 hours. Overall, I think I would say it's good, but not great. I think it definitely has its issues, but it's a cool concept. The one thing I didn't do is I don't even know what this game looks like when you have the TV screen up, because I played it exclusively on the gamepad.
It looks like the gamepad, but in higher resolution. I mean, it looks nice. The clay effect comes through a lot cleaner. But the reality of the situation is, I tried looking at it as I was playing it, and it's really not super doable. Because
Yeah.
No, I've played through it twice now, and I've seen precious little of it on the TV. I mean, a lot of the time this time I didn't even have the TV on with the Wii U, kind of running through that through the HDMI or anything. But probably more so back then, the first time round. But it doesn't really work. It's more for the people doing local multiplayer. Really that's they can look at the screen and control Waddle Dee and kind of help out. I've no experience of doing that, but we had some people kind of writing in talking about doing it that way. So it's not like it's the notion that it's entirely wasted. The aesthetics is a bit much because still looks pretty nice. The sort of style does come across on the gamepad, but obviously it's even a bit sort of more diminished now that you're kind of more used to playing on better screens. With Switch. That are actually running, at higher resolution, and they're not streaming. You don't have some of those weird kind of artifacts and color bleed that you get with the streaming video as well as the lower resolution. So it's you do feel like, oh, it's a shame that you don't get to see this more fully. Like if it, like as James mentioned earlier, I think the odds of it getting a port to Switch are not very good at all. But if it were to, you could imagine it would look like very nice on a current Switch screen. But yeah, I think it's mostly a local multiplayer thing, which again, that was like, you might not think of that as being like a huge part of the game, but that was a big part of their idea with the system. It's just like, oh well, people will be happy to kind of look at this on the TV while you, or at least one person, is with their head squarely down, scribbling away. Well, at least the gamepad screen, as a contrast to Canvas Curse, the biggest, physically larger screen makes it easier to draw what you want to draw. I will
Absolutely.
say that. Having played them back to back, like that was quite present. I mean, there's a number of differences. So the physics are a bit different. Rainbow Curse definitely, like the lines have more of a kind of drag effect on Kirby in terms of which direction you drew them in. It's kind of if you're in contact with the line, it's that rope kind of it's dragging you forward, even if it's like against gravity. There's less of that in the original. It's more kind of natural in the original. You know what I mean? Like it's just like,
Yeah, you have to propel yourself along, right?
Yeah. So and then there's the whole sort of, the original has copy abilities. Try and kind of tie in a bit more to the general Kirby series, whereas this does not. There's quite a few differences in there. Again, the other thing would be the whole like scoring mechanic in this with the little like collectible stars, and the fact that if you collect them in a row, in a chain, you get bonuses, and then you need to collect them to build up that kind of super dash, which is important for getting some of the secret or additional treasure chests, or sometimes you just need it to attack a boss's weak spot and stuff. Like that's a really big part of the game, and it's separate from like copy abilities, right? It kind of replaces the copy abilities.
Yeah, my thoughts echo John a lot. 6-1 didn't give me 6-1 gave me a bunch of trouble. One of the cloud levels gave me an absolute nightmare worth of trouble.
Yep. I know which one you mean.
Yeah, like some of the times where they turned you into like a tank. And basically anytime the auto scrolling kicked in.
Which is a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot of levels.
I basically just went like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
Because you can't control Kirby's velocity. Not really. You can give him little like nudges, but the nudge lasts a very, very, very small amount of time. And as a consequence, like Kirby's just gonna kind of do what he wants, but you still have to keep moving.
Yeah, I felt like I had to. I wound up by the end of the game. I think I survived more effectively because I learned to play defensively. Right. Because early on in the game, I felt like I would always get myself into jams. Kirby gets into a corner of the screen and the auto scrolling kills him against a wall. A lot of stuff like that, and so I just learned to when Kirby's up in the air, just put a rainbow rope underneath him to catch him. No
Right.
matter what you're doing, no matter where you're going, just as an insurance policy.
Yeah, just to be there. It's when you run into stuff where it's like, and you mentioned it 6-1, which I think is called Burning Secrets. There's lava coming from above. You have to block. There's there's like the spike balls coming from multiple directions. Kirby is over instant death the whole time. It's just you're just constantly...
that's the thing. There's a number of things in play. There's that you got instant death lava, which you don't think of as being that kind of Kirby-ish. You know what I mean? Or just this kind of game in general is kind of an interesting choice. And the fact that because his locomotion in this, it's a lot more technical than actual Kirby games. I mean, typically with Kirby games, with the ability to float indefinitely and all that, it's like there's usually some depth there if you want to get like everything, or you want to like really like mess around and master like what the copy abilities could do, and there's additional things like these boss rush modes and all that can offer challenge. But in terms of just the basics of like, no, I want to get from A to B, from the beginning of the level to the end of the level, it requires almost no technical ability at all. Whereas with this, there is at least some, just like kind of some of the things that John sort of talked about, because it's not the kind of game that's as well travelled as the traditional side-scrolling platformer with the conventional controls. You do have to kind of get used to the idea of, maybe I'll kind of construct like a little holding pattern for Kirby while something plays out. And because you've got like scarce ink, you don't want to run yourself out of that, because then you won't be able to draw a line to like save him from falling or something. So you're managing that as well. So for us, extremely kind of young skewing as the game looks and the series is in general, and for the fact that it's not a dreadfully difficult game. There is it's kind of more involved and there's more to learn than you would normally associate with, I think, Kirby games, especially if you hadn't played Canvas Curse, although I suppose there was a long gap between them, so you might have just forgotten much of that even if you did.
Yeah, it definitely felt like there were times that I was just getting absolutely frustrated with this game. Because to John's point, there's no consistency in the difficulty of this game. I thought the final boss, the second form of the final boss was, let me take a step back. I was annoyed that the game has 6 bosses or 7 bosses, but
is it?
But it
does
duplicates.
It have 7?
It duplicates 3 of them for some like. They really need to bring the fucking tree back again? Now, grant they changed it, yes.
Yeah,
but like
exactly.
It's so just craven.
There's a few times where it feels stretched a bit thin, like they said, because it does seem to be trying to adhere to kind of the standards that were getting established for side scrollers at this time after this big, because between Canvas Curse on DS and Rainbow Curse on Wii U, there was this huge renaissance in 2D platformers. They became more popular, they became more numerous. Nintendo was doing a bunch of them with their characters. DKC comes back, New Super Mario Brothers is huge, Wario, all sorts of things, Yoshi. So it's kind of like trying to reach that level of like, okay, we want to, especially I think of, some of the things like with Woolly World and things where it's like, okay, we want levels to be relatively kind of like, we have an idea, we'll kind of keep it to one level type of thing, or like have levels be more distinct, or like have like set pieces like in DKC that set them apart. And so you have that, but then they come back in this a lot more. So so it's like, we'll have another rocket level where you've got to get out of the exploding ship in time, or we'll have a repeat boss, or another 4 scrollers, or the sort of gondola thing, where you're Kirby's in the basket, and he's going along the ropes on a track, and you've got to kind of draw your own at times. They come back to these ideas more than the games that they were sort of trying to bring it up to standard with did, I think, in a lot of cases. And I can only assume that the part of that may have been that it's just like, okay, Wii U is in a bad place. We need content. We need it relatively fast. And it was kind of like, okay, let's stretch this out a bit relative to the ideas that we've actually kind of brought to the point where we can implement them. They had to lean on them a bit more than they'd like. Although I will say, with respect to the bosses, Canvas Curse doesn't even have bosses. It has mini games as bosses.
Right.
It's kind of amazing, and they repeat the mini games.
And they do repeat.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
for-
it's kind of, it is progress, arguably. Although I wouldn't say the bosses are in Rainbow Curse is necessarily the game's strongest suit, but I think it brings more to the party than those mini games do, especially because they just feel like such a non sequitur. There is a proper sort of final boss for Canvas Curse, but that's it. That's the only thing you have as a kind of conventional boss encounter.
Yeah, I'll quote out of the forums here from Lemonade, who posted a bunch of thoughts in here, but I'm gonna focus on that one in particular. I think by far the weakest part of the game is the bosses. They are repeated, and the final boss is really annoying. It took me many attempts. I scanned the DDD amiibo to get more health because this game did support amiibo, but I still died, and then discovered that the extra health only counts for 1 life. Thankfully, on the next attempt, I was able to beat it with 1 hit point left. I think I was down to 0 lives. I will say that last boss, the second part where you're in the rocket ship, the game seems to randomly decide when it wants to give you health. And I had a long run where it just decided that was not a thing that it was going to do. It had just decided that today you will have no milk. And I was miserable. Like cuz then to John's point, I started playing really defensively because he was down to 1 more hit. But also, I couldn't get to the stars because at the end he's just shooting the spike balls at you, and because you can't.
But it's the final hit, so you can understand why it's kind of like you got to thread some needles to collect the stars to be able to launch the final attack.
Yeah, see, by that time, I was so used to playing defensively that I had no problem with that last boss at all.
Yeah,
It took me 2 tries. Yeah, it took me 2 tries. And the first try, I had him down to 1 more hit, and I had 90 of 100 stars for the final hit, and I died. But the next time I wiped him, I 3-shot him.
The boss that gave me the most trouble was that round ball thing.
Yeah,
which,
that one.
Because you've got the first boss, the tree. Okay, he's meant to be a pushover, so of course no one died against it. But that ball, I felt like I'm like this is there's too much to keep track of at one time, and I feel like I haven't been properly trained. Like they didn't ramp up to it properly enough. And so I felt like, okay, I gotta block the lasers. Okay, I gotta make draw the rope so that I hit it, but hit it on a specific side. But also he's spinning. Also it takes me some time to draw the rope. Also it takes Kirby some time to go up the rope.
And the rope goes away too.
Also, yes, and is that rope that you drew to block the laser still there? I better hope so. So it was a lot to keep track of, but I didn't have as much trouble the second time against it when it comes back as I did that first time. It seemed like a kind of a jump in difficulty, which seems to be kind of a theme in this conversation.
My issue,
I think some of that. I think some of the jumps in difficulty is because they're just trying, they are trying to have these like pretty different concepts for different levels and bosses, and then sometimes it just doesn't balance with the other stuff in the game, because it's like quite we talk about the 4 scrolling levels, or the submarine, the rocket, all these, because they are like quite different modes of play. It's just like, they were probably kind of implemented on a kind of quite separate track, and balancing those with different kinds of levels is probably just something that is difficult to do in general, and they may not have had the most time to do it as well as they could have done either.
Yeah, I don't know if we can go back to high level thoughts because I kind of didn't give mine.
Oh
but,
yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so I listened to the episode 419, 420, and I think back then I really, I played it co-op. I seemed to really enjoy the experience on that first episode, and then that second episode I was like, oh, I was much further along in the game than I thought, and yeah, there's some validity to the reviews at the time were saying that it didn't have enough variety or like it was very repetitive, and I was admitting that it was yeah, like a little bit repetitious and not as clever as Canvas Curse had been. Like it didn't display as many ideas. This time around, it's funny because so back then, yeah, I kind of also had the I echoed the criticism that well, it looks washed out on the Wii U gamepad. This time, I really didn't mind the Wii U gamepad. Maybe it's like years of hearing like, oh yeah, like that gamepad that sure was not the best image quality, was it? And now I'm going back to it. I'm like, you know what? This is not bad at all. I don't mind this at all. It looks fine to me. Uh, I don't feel like I'm lacking details. Like, oh, Kirby has a little band-aid when he's down to one health. That's cool. The screen is good enough to convey that to show me that. So I was like, yeah, the technology not as old or doesn't feel as ancient as I thought it would. At the same time, though, I was playing the game by myself this time, and I wasn't really feeling it. I was I did not have a frustrating time with the game. I had at most an annoying one, like sometimes when the controls I would not fight against them, but like the controls would do something that I did not want Kirby to do, like he would bounce off the extremity of a rope or whatever. Like, oh, okay, that sucks. But it was not a big deal usually. Uh, but like, yeah, like sometimes annoyed by the controls. But otherwise, like really appreciating the graphics, really appreciating the music, which is fantastic, but ultimately not having that much fun. And the problem here is that I thought about this and I was like, what can I say? Why am I not having that much fun? And I feel like it would just come out as a list of I had the word in my head
Gripes.
just earlier. Yeah, not gripes, but also nitpicking,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But ultimately, that's what it comes down to. Like, and when you combine everything, the levels being a little bit too long, maybe lacking in variety a little bit, annoyance with the controls sometimes. There's just it just adds up to make an experience that was ultimately not that much fun to me. And after I finished Rainbow Curse, I went back and checked out a little bit of Canvas Curse. And so I'm playing it on a Wii U, and it's not a great experience, like the small screen and everything. I'm playing with the gamepad sideways and like the top screen and the bottom screen both displayed on the gamepad. It doesn't play that great that way. But it's funny because first of all, I realized like yeah, Canvas Curse maybe the controls weren't as good as Rainbow Curse. They made a lot of concessions in Rainbow Curse where Kirby absolutely sticks immediately to the bottom of the rope if you draw one, and is pulled upwards as Greg mentioned. Like there's kind of this drag, this uh, anyway. So Kirby follows the rope, but like in Canvas Curse, he's as much likely to stick to the underside of the rope as he is to bounce off it, which is extremely frustrating because you don't know what's going to happen. Like, okay, did I just save Kirby from a bottomless pit? Maybe, maybe not. The game will decide in half a second. Oh, okay, I'm dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
and the other thing is maybe it was a little bit too sensitive. Uh, Rainbow Curse forgives. Canvas Curse, if like I happen to like draw a rope to the right and I want to send Kirby to the upper, like to fly off to the right of the screen, but then like maybe like my stylus dragged a little bit to the left at the end, and it's not even perceptible with like a visible pixel. Kirby will be sent to the left, and that's absolutely not what I want him to do, and it's not what the rope, the line seems to indicate that he should do. But yeah, like there's like this one invisible pixel that sent them flying to the opposite direction that I wanted them to. So I feel like they learned a lot from Canvas Curse and Rainbow Curse, and as frustrating or as annoying as the controls can be sometimes, uh, they're not as bad or not as unforgiving as Canvas Curse controls were. So, but again, Rainbow Curse might not be ultimately as much fun as Canvas Curse, because despite these issues, I found myself just before the recording, like finding myself like kind of dragged into Canvas Curse, wanting to play more of Canvas Curse in a way that I never felt playing through Rainbow Curse. And I think a lot of that is the perhaps the more open levels. Not that the Canvas Curse has huge levels, it really does not. But there's one example I can think of is that like you start the level, there's a clear path, like it's in between, two walls, let's say, and you go through the thing, and eventually there's like a hole, you can escape those walls. But it's it's like one of those kind of Nintendo secrets kind of things where if you think outside the box, if you think of going over the top of the screen, like you're gonna find the secret place, right? So you find an exit, you can go outside the walls, and then like there's a whole path that Kirby can take outside of the designated area, let's say, that you can explore. You can find some more stuff, and it's a fun secret to find. And I find that that was something that was completely missing from Rainbow Curse.
Yeah.
Like, Rainbow Curse,
Yeah.
you stay on the path, you know where you're supposed to go, and you go there, and that's all the game requires of you.
Yeah,
And
I had a similar observation playing these two, kind of so close together now. Definitely, like the relatively more open quality to the Canvas Curse levels is, I think, an interesting point, because I think part of what went into that is the fact that you have the second screen map. It's kind of like that gives you a more zoomed out view generally of the level at the same time that obviously you're mostly paying attention to the lower screen. So it kind of lets them have these bigger open spaces, because you don't you can kind of have something of an idea of like, oh, there's a kind of a particular corner there that might be interesting to investigate before you even sort of get close to it. So that was just one of those dual screen things that was so common at the time, that you could have a map there, and I think it just kind of gave them the confidence to say, well, people will have an idea of like if this is something they want to go off and explore just by looking at the map, so we can have these kind of open levels. Whereas I think, again, the Rainbow Curse style is much more informed by the side scroller sort of boom or whatever, revival that had happened in between, and it was more informed by that school of design of like New Super Mario Brothers Wii and so on. But obviously applying it to a game that is not quite a traditional side scroller because of the different input method and the character locomotion and stuff. And I don't know whether it's necessarily the best fit in that regard. Like they did, in that sense, they kind of went a little bit away from the formula that they had in the original. But you do have two screens here, of course, but they wanted to do it again for the local multiplayer angle in this case, because that was the whole thrust of the system. That this is something that, if you was on DS, you would have had to have multiple systems to do, kind of thing. So that's the direction they took it. And I mean, like I said, there's definitely some pluses that come with that for me, in terms of just having levels that are visually more distinct, and sometimes design wise more distinct. You definitely have some fun kind of very singular levels, like the one very late on where you've got the multiple Kirby get split apart.
Yes.
And you've got two at once, and you kind of I guess it's a little bit like the double cherry kind of scenarios in 3D World, but not quite, because you can't have independent control of the two of them at the same time. You kind of at a certain point it evolves into almost like a breakout type of scenario, as you use one Kirby to sort of fling the other off to break bricks and blocks and things. Like that is obviously so late in the game that it is not reprised like
Right.
a lot of the things are, and it is just completely different from the rest of the game. So things like that, I don't know whether you really get anything that singular in Canvas Curse. So I feel like it's kind of pluses and minuses with the journey from one to the next, but the biggest thing you can't replicate is the novelty factor. It's just like the DS, first year of its life, touch gaming was certainly the novelty to me, and probably a lot of people that picked up DS. That was presumably a lot of what drove its commercial appeal, at least with a certain crowd. And this was a game that was utilizing it in a setting that was, akin to a traditional kind of platformer, but it just gave it a different feel. As I said, certainly compared to Kirby games, a more sort of technical feel, and just like kind of fresh. You can't do that again. Once you get to Rainbow Curse, the whole kind of that particular strain of kind of touch gaming had almost kind of come and gone. Like it migrated onto mobile, and it's a different kind of touch gaming now. So yeah, I feel like there's elements of Rainbow Curse that I kind of like better, or they're almost more tuned to my tastes.
Right.
But it was always going to be very difficult for it to be a better experience than that initial experience with Canvas Curse was. First of all, because Canvas Curse has some advantages, but also just because it was fresh.
Yeah, there's a quote about this being a touch, like this is very much touch gaming. Let me go dig it back out. This is from Doug. So there are ideas here that seem cool, but overall I'm finding the game not very engaging. The gameplay seems to shift between too slow or easy or too fast and hard. It doesn't often hit the sweet spot. With the necessity for the touchscreen, this is 100% a handheld game, which makes it hard to go back to from Switch. So by that I'm interpreting it to mean like this game is a handheld game. It just happens to be on Wii U. Like this is not a game that you can really play with the TV. In fact, it felt silly sitting in front of a TV with the TV turned off. And in the end, I moved to the Wii U in a different room without the TV and played there. It kind of notes that it's the Wii U ends up being kind of an awkward piece of hardware for console. It's a bulky gamepad, the effective need for a wall power for a wall-powered external hard disk. I actually want to talk about this a little bit because this game is so touch gaming focused that, like last night when I finished the game, for the last hour, the TV was just off. I was just in the room with the TV.
Yeah, and like I said, I never even turned on the TV. I played this effectively like I would a Switch game.
Yeah. But the interesting thing is the battery is so fucking terrible on the gamepad. I mean, it is
really bad.
I never got the upgrade.
It was never that great. But then, of course, I mean, certainly I use mine a great deal,
Right.
and that it will, drastically kind of worsen over those time.
Yes.
The many cycles of, depletion and recharging. So I think I told this story on RFL at some point, but like I did order like the bigger battery, but then like basically the screws on the compartment to switch out the battery were just like hopelessly threaded.
Oh.
No, they were made of butter. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just had to send the better battery back because it was just like, well,
God.
that I can't get this off. It's just impossible. And also,
Yeah.
I felt like I could probably deal with this, and I did, because it was. I had got the most, the Wii U kind of usage had peaked at that point, and we were past
Right.
it, and so in this particular case, I kind of spread out the play sessions enough that it wasn't really a problem. It was just like, well, I pretty much did one world at a time, spread them out over, a week or two, and it wasn't an issue. But the whole thing that led to me ordering that battery before I found out I couldn't install it was like, the battery life is just not not what I would want, because I want to play off TV a vast amount, and certainly after a couple of years, it couldn't hold it very well at all.
I got about 40 minutes in Rainbow Curse. Like it was just
Wow.
it was bad. So I got through about 2 worlds and it would be blinking red during the boss fight. This happened
I
3 times.
I did upgrade the battery. Yeah, I remember like my battery was shut to nothing almost at some point, so I ordered the larger battery, and it's still good now. So all these complaints, I'm sure that yeah, it's worse for you guys now because the battery is just old.
Yeah,
at this
mine's a
point.
launch day battery. So like it's
Yeah.
brutal. I don't even know if you can get the better battery now. I see people selling them on Amazon, but I mean, are they new? Or are they somebody's used old battery?
Right? Did they use them to mine Bitcoin?
Yeah,
You don't know.
I'm gonna mine Bitcoin on my Wii U. I'm getting 1 ETH per month. I don't know. It is very much just a handheld game though. On Wii U, it felt like I get why it's there because like it so cleanly maps from what they were doing on the DS. Like I get why they got to that point, but it doesn't feel great. And the Wii U gamepad is kind of awkward to hold with one hand for an extended period of time. So
Yeah.
I ended up sitting in a recliner with it reclined, but not actually reclining, and having my legs like up. It's like my feet are
Mhm.
sitting on the chair of the recliner. And so the gamepad is resting on my knees, so it's up basically at eye level.
Yeah, I had mine. I put mine down on an ottoman in front of me,
There you go.
so it was like at a perfect sort of level where I could sit there and play.
It's very awkward, and it's not the
Isn't
only.
there like a whole industry of like iPad holders that we could have been
Yeah, but
investing in?
the gamepad's got that weird ridge on the back for your fingers to rest on, and it's got some bulbousness. Like none of those iPad holders would hold it because iPads are thin.
Hmm.
It's a uniquely odd looking piece of hardware, and it's got those 2 mounting points on it for a mounting device that never existed.
Yeah. Strangely enough, though, I have to say, now that I think about it, the Wii U, that size it's a lot like the Steam Deck,
Yeah,
really. Yeah.
is it the same general thickness?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Steam Deck is lighter and like a little thinner, but just in terms of size and kind of
Steam
footprint,
Deck
It's
is
lighter.
lighter?
It felt like the gamepad was gonna float away if I didn't hold it.
I'm probably wrong there.
Like the gamepad feels like it's made of helium.
Yeah.
It's almost disconcerting. Like that was one of the biggest things when I picked it up to play it for the first time a few weeks ago. Was like I hadn't held a gamepad in a long time, and
Man, I got 'em right here.
it was
I'll
almost,
walk over to them.
it was almost disconcerting how light it was. It was like
Yeah, well, it's plastic and cheap, right? And
Right.
I definitely, when I picked it up, it was creakier than I remembered. I was like, this should, yeah, something is twisting or bending that shouldn't be twisting and bending. It kind of resolved itself after a while, but yeah, I had it in storage for a while, and anyway, yeah, it's kind of an odd thing to return to.
Yeah, Steam Deck is heavier, but not a lot. Like I don't think that the Wii U gamepad is. I don't think it's that light,
really.
personally.
I think
No,
it's
I don't think so.
it's awkward because it's leveraged
For
out
what
really far.
Yeah, I mean, for what it does,
GX is gonna go
It's,
do science.
it's. But I mean, size wise, the Steam Deck it's about the same height. Steam Deck is wider by about half an inch on both sides.
So somebody,
So-
Stern Dog has posted that there was a case for the gamepad that it would stand up on, but it was clear plastic, which is really weird looking. Yeah, we're getting somebody is actually going to measure the weight. I don't know. It's just it's a very awkward device, and the game does not seem necessarily to meet the device where it is, if that makes sense. But the user experience of playing it feels a little bit I don't know, a little bit awkward in a way that it didn't necessarily need to be. I think that's kind of true for the whole game, though. Like we talked about, like the fact you can't control Kirby's speed with any efficacy, especially on some of these auto scrollers, like or some of the things where there's just constant shit coming down.
Yeah, I think and I mean, I just like what Guillaume was saying earlier about sort of the talk between confined spaces versus kind of open air for this type of control scheme.
Yeah,
really, I think a lot of the problems come from the fact that you're kind of crammed into these confined areas where you're using this that requires exact controls or exact sort of movement like you would maybe in a
Yes.
Mario game, and you're given these crude controls to do so, whereas in Canvas Curse it's not like that as much. It's more like open air kind of thing, sort of like it's just a lot easier. Like this does not lend itself to really precise movements, and I feel like a lot of the levels require that.
That's that sort of thing. I think sort of imposing this kind of side scroller revival like level design ethos on that on the Canvas Curse sort of basic controls and character physics and everything. It has its moments where it doesn't really seem like a fit, for sure. I mean, I guess in some ways you could say it's almost like like a progression. Like, okay, well now you do some of these things in tight areas. Like that you could look at that as a kind of progression. Like you have to be better than you were in Canvas Curse, but I don't really think it was intended that way. I just feel like it was kind of take some level design kind of ideas and like a paradigm that you might have had making the Kirby's Return to Dreamland on Wii, like that side scroller that's coming back on Switch, and then kind of just like trotting it out, for this kind of game, which, like I said, sometimes it just, especially I would have thought for maybe younger or inexperienced players wouldn't have had any memory of Canvas Curse and all that. I wonder how well it kind of would have gone down with them. Like some of those things, because like I said, it's got to be more frustrating than a typical Kirby game.
right.
Mhm.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, well, there's a long history again of Kirby spin-offs being much tougher than actual mainline Kirby games. But I don't know if kids are used to that or not.
But not the most. I mean, in the case of this one though, not Epic Yarn. Like that game was.
No, I mean that went to the place of actually being more forgiving.
It was comedically easy.
One
Yeah,
thing
I'm
this
thinking
does,
more like Mass Attack and Block
yeah.
Ball and etc.
Yeah, that would have been another candidate, wouldn't it? If in terms of this idea of like, okay, Wii U is troublesome, like we need to get some stuff on it. Let's, it's got two screens, it's got a touch screen. Let's sort of reheat some DS ideas. Like they could have made another run at a Mass Attack.
Yeah, that feels like a more natural. I mean, I guess a more screen compatible fit might be the better word of putting it. So there, people are in the Discord right now measuring their Steam Decks and gamepads, and
Yeah, Steam Deck is wider, but about the same height.
They one thing that's come up is that if you have the extendo battery, it's going to come up with the bigger number. The other thing that's come up is even they can't agree on how much the gamepads weigh, which leads me to believe that scales all suck and they're all going to be different. So, science. We should go back to measuring things.
I mean, I have a postal scale that I could probably throw my gamepad
Oh yeah,
on.
let's get a third set of scales in here. Let's
I could certainly do that. I have it sitting over there in the kitchen.
let's live stream us going through as many digital scales as we can to weigh these respective devices.
I mean, this is content, James. This is entertainment.
Is it?
All
right, I'll agree with you that it's content. I'm not sure I'll agree with you that it's entertainment. I think we are. Donald is now posting that crypto mining simulator is coming to the Switch eShop in Japan. So I guess that's just completely unrelated. But we've now reached the zone of the discrepancy between content and entertainment, and we found it. I mean, arguably, we found it 799 episodes ago, so that's fine. Of course, in the Twitch, we're just getting hit by bots. So everything's going great. Let's talk a little bit about the presentation here. We talked about the graphics a little bit, the clay style, which before the show officially started, I wasn't sure if that was because the world had been turned into clay, because one of the two magic users has the ability to produce lumps of clay from somewhere, don't ask questions, and form them into shapes that can then be animated with the rainbow paintbrush, which leads me to, because is this like an Epic Yarn situation where the world got turned into yarn form by the yarn god, or is the world already clay and this is actually the mass of life that thing is sculpting? It turns out it's the second. It is the world was always clay, and the clay modeler is literally taking the flesh of the unmolded and molding them. So Kirby's a nightmare is what that really comes out to. I don't know that the clay comes through on the gamepad super well though. It feels like that was something that they should have picked up on before they made the game. I don't know. What about y'all?
I didn't mind. The Wii U gamepad screen was not as bad as I thought it did.
I don't mind it. I just feel like that in terms of the effects, it softened the effect pretty dramatically.
Well, maybe, I don't know, maybe my TV sucks. I don't think it does, but I didn't think that the effect was that much more pronounced on the TV screen. But again, like this time around, I had limited opportunity to look at the TV screen to look for it. But I guess that's why you can have a little clay sculpture, or you unlock the figurines for every single thing in the game.
Everything.
Like that is the purpose of that.
And they look good.
They do look good.
In fact, there's a couple of them they're on the splash screen I'm not using anymore. Now I'm using Kirby rolling over a person. But you're right. Like it does feel like the fact that every level has 5 discoverable things in it, either music or statues, really was just them trying to pad the game out. Because there are some where it having 5 was absolutely not necessary. Some of the shorter levels where like I ended up with 5 on the first pass.
There's the odd one where there's 4, I think, but it's pretty uncommon.
Okay.
Yeah,
sometimes. Yeah.
Did they just run out of models?
Again, I mean, Canvas Curse probably the levels are shorter, as we mentioned, but there's always 3 medals in that.
Right.
Whereas he is 5 most of the time, and there's some music tracks which they'll be remixes of old Kirby, kind of famous songs, ranging from the earliest Kirby games all the way to what were then the most recent ones, like Triple Deluxe. There's like Triple Deluxe remixes there that you can unlock in the music player. But yeah, the whole figurine showcase thing, but it really does sort of obviously something that's been in Kirby games a lot, or things that Sakurai has done like Smash Brothers, but in this case, it seems really warranted because, if you're just a typical single player, then it's your chance, at a moment where you're not actually playing the game, to go somewhere separate and appreciate, what they've actually done with a lot of these things. And it is you get like all the bosses and kind of like that giant battleship I mentioned earlier as a model and all that. So you like the kind of the thoroughness there that they have of just putting almost everything you can think of as a figurine you can go and look at. And I mean, compared to stuff like the Forgotten Land recently that has a similar thing, it's got a Gashapon kind of place you can go and get like all the characters in the game, and you find ones like that in the levels and all that. It's much the same thing, but it just feels more like a worthwhile reward in this game because it is a relatively sort of good chance to appreciate what they were doing here, and the fact that they are clay models, it kind of just feels natural. It feels like a sort of just an organic kind of extension of the concept. Whereas, with Forgotten Lands, it just feels like, oh well, we want the collectibles to be something.
Right.
So I'd say, yeah, it meshes pretty well in this case.
Yeah.
I just made myself sad. I was like, like maybe like there's like production pictures of like the clay models. Like surely they made these in real life and then transferred that somehow into the game. And oh, maybe there's an Iwata asks about this game, and oh, I can't find one. Well, Iwata should have remembered his roots. Like it's surprising that there's no Kirby Iwata asks, for a Kirby game.
I know where this is
And
going.
then yeah, 2015. So the game was released in February, and he died in July. But yeah, like one can imagine that he had other stuff to deal with than doing a what asks.
This will be one of the last. This is one of the last games he's the EP on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that made me kind of sad seeing his name in the credits. It was a little bit of a bittersweet moment,
Yeah.
I'm sure somebody knows explicitly what the last one is, and I'm sure it's something where when I hear it, I'll go, "Oh man, really?" It's gonna be something like what was the name of that town building 3DS adventure game from the people who made the Zelda ports?
Ever Oasis.
Ever Oasis, something like that.
Yeah, that's too. I think that's too late.
So I've gotten two: Star Fox Zero or Breath of the Wild. So maybe one of those, and Megamix. I've gotten 3, so nobody knows is the answer, which is good. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with nobody knowing. That's almost better. That's almost somebody's gonna go open all of those games and find out. That's almost better to not know. It might depend on what region you're in. Like there could have been the release order of some of these games. As Matt points out, New Super Mario Brothers Deluxe U lists him as the EP. Because of course it's a port, so Sharp FE lists him, and that came out in late, and then came out recently, and also bombed again. So who could say? But that's fine. But the music, somebody in the thread talked about the music and how much they liked it. Let me see.
That might have been me or someone I was answering.
Well, Guillaume mentioned that one Desert song. I saw that.
Yeah, Guillaume did say the music was, I believe, fantastic was the word he used.
Yeah, like I keep like it keeps reminding me the soundtrack is nuts. Like it keeps reminding me of other games, but maybe it's just reminding me of the previous time that I played this game. But like there's such a familiarity to like the instruments or the arrangements or like certain little kind of themes that maybe it's reminding me of other Kirby games, but the instruments are different enough that I just don't realize it. But there's something it messes with my brain, I think is what I said.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like it's far enough away. You've somewhat forgotten it, but obviously it's not so far away that you've forgotten it entirely. So it hits that part of your brain where you're almost not quite sure what you're remembering. But there are some. I mean, there's one song I think relatively early on where it's walking up to the line of ripping off the melody from the Totoro. My Neighbor Totoro theme song.
Nice.
It's really close to da 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 da.
Yeah.
Just not quite. It's like change one note or something. But yeah, it's. I think it's pretty strong overall. I mean, I think more so than Canvas Curse is like really quite kind of meh. Whereas Kirby soundtracks, much I generally enjoy Kirby soundtracks. It's just I don't know. There's not that much there in Canvas Curse. Although I would say. I played it this time with headphones on and absolutely absorbed every moment of the soundtrack or anything. But yeah, I didn't provoke that much in terms of memory. It's more difficult because it was longer ago, of course. But with this, it kind of, like I said, they've got a bunch of Kirby remixes, but they're more as rewards. And then it's there's some Kirby references in the main soundtrack, but it's mostly just kind of doing its own thing. And it's got quite a strong central motif that it kind of just works works its way back to, and does very many different types of kind of arrangements and things. So I think it generally did a good job.
Yeah. While we're on this, Seren just wrote, "Is the soundtrack charming?" And I must use this opportunity to point out that I had forgotten, but this game is the origin of this shaming of my vocabulary, I
Nice.
suppose. This making me feel self-conscious about using the word charming. So
I'll be honest, I didn't really notice the music when I just played it, and I wonder if that's just because the speaker on the gamepad sucks.
well,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
I mean, I thought it was good. It
James-
didn't jump out at me, but then again, it wasn't playing over good speakers at all. So
Right.
James, you ran over your finger over the solution. You touched the the port for the headphones,
Yeah, but
but the headphones on this whole time.
yeah, I guess
It-
it's just I don't know. It didn't. I mean, I heard it obviously. It wasn't like I didn't
Yeah.
hear the music. It just I don't know. It didn't resonate with me. And
yeah, it was kind of
Right.
just
Well,
it was
the-
kind of generic orchestral music
Hmm.
to me.
But yeah, well, I think probably the quality, does play a big part in your enjoyment of it. I don't know, with the headphones on, like that. This is one of those situations where I was glad that I had wired headphones still, because it's I don't know. Again, it's a great soundtrack. I don't know what else to say about it, but
Yeah. Side note. In the interest of science, I did weigh the gamepad and the Steam Deck. The gamepad is 1 pound, 1.4 ounces,
Okay.
and the Steam Deck is 1 pound, 8.3 ounces.
So
So-
I believe you have now introduced a third distinct weight into the measuring of systems. So congratulations
all
on
right.
that.
Yeah. Okay. So everyone, provide your altitude and any
need-
other info that we might need.
Well, so what we need to know is what's the specific gravity in your location.
Let me see if I can check that out.
Yeah, get on that. Do you have
How
the?
close are you to the Earth's molten core?
Oh,
Please provide an exact distance.
Not close enough, my friend.
that's just not my line.
But yeah, so it's about the Steam Deck is about 7.9 ounces heavier than the gamepad. For what that means, which means absolutely nothing, but for trivia. But mine was done with a postal scale, which I can assure you is very, very precise, because I put
Dear God.
I put a piece of paper on it,
Oh,
and
good.
it was 0.1 ounces, so it detects down to the 10th of an ounce.
So can I ask an obvious question here?
Sure.
Why do you have a postal scale?
For packages, because you can weigh them and print out
I don't know if it's
postage
safe
at home.
I don't know if it's safe to get into John's side business here, James.
That and cocaine, obviously.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, my cocaine dealer
know?
does his measurements on postal packages. Great.
Yeah, exactly. Air quotes, postal packages.
Yeah, he zeroes it out with a known value. His Kirby amiibo.
Yeah, that's the answer is illicit narcotics. I mean, come on. Why are we beating around the bush? We're all friends here.
So
There's no federal authorities listening.
what
Let's just get it out there on the table. Pun intended.
What model is your money counter? Out of curiosity.
That's between me and my underlings.
Oh, great, awesome. Oh,
That's backroom talk, James.
yeah. I'm glad we're not recording this. That there's no
No, I'm glad this is going out to nobody. That's right.
on Twitch
We're all just
right
friends here.
now. Twitch mods are about to ban the Nintendo World Report account for us talking about our drug dealing. It'll be great.
Yeah, well, we're riding the edge here. This is some edgy content. We never said that we were for kids. It's I mean, NWR. It's I mean, RFN is it's a podcast for adults, right?
We're
It's a
recording
Nintendo
it
podcast for
3
adults.
distinct ways right now. Like it's really we've really done an excellent. Sanders just excited that we might get the NWR account banned, so I don't have to do Mario Party Monthly anymore.
Put everybody a favor here.
Oh my God. So I don't know. We're kind of hitting stuff. I'm kind of hitting the bottom of what I want to talk about. I don't know what else do y'all have that you want to touch on?
I do want to mention just a funny thing playing Canvas Curse again. I probably did, go back to it as a like test game maybe when I first got my DS Lite, perhaps, which was a fair while later. It was the back end of '07, but I don't think I played it very much on the Lite. It was just when it was a game I got with my DS, which was an Electric Blue, I think they called it, model in the middle of '05. So it's kind of interesting because that was my first backlit Nintendo handheld. So I'd gone from like I had my original GBA, which, as we all know, was a challenge to play games on, and then I'd kind of just coped with that and the Game Boy Player all the way up to getting that DS. So like when I played Canvas Curse on there, it's like, oh wow, look at this screen, And like later on, I got a micro because they got ridiculously cheap because they must have just produced too many of them. Once they, especially in Japan, when they were still supporting GBA, but then once the DS just became a juggernaut, they were like, okay, no.
Yeah.
There's no point. So I had a micro later and stuff, but that was my first DS sort of screen, and kind of looking at that, thinking how kind of cool it was to be able to play, just invisible, kind of portable. Although even the GBA SP had better screens than the DS, the original DS. Like afterwards, didn't they? They did that latter sort of soft new model, the 101 or whatever, that actually had like a really good backlit screen, or a significantly better backlit screen. But yeah, it's funny that playing it on the DSi now, it's like, oh wow, like this is so much better than I remember it looking on on that DS Fat, because the fact of the matter is the original DS screens weren't particularly good, and yeah, the colors just seem a lot more vibrant. Just like exactly what's in the background here, because even with it's not an XL, the screens are bigger as well, and it's just like, oh no, I can like make this out much more like what they're going for on some of the like darker backgrounds and stuff. Like it was just a big difference. Another thing that kind of makes me think about playing some of the other early DS games I have, that I have not touched a very long time, stuff like probably Dawn of Sorrow, I think would be cool to go back to, because again, that was about a year into the DS life, a few months into me owning a DS, and I played it a lot, but I played it pretty much exclusively on that original model, and it's just like, yeah, actually, it's pretty crappy. It seemed good at the time based on my experience, but obviously the DS Lite was pretty transformative, and then even the DSi was an improvement further from there.
I did want to I'd put one more addendum in on the how much does the gamepad weigh. The Andor from the Twitch chat asked the GPT chatbot who responds, the Wii U gamepad, which was the primary controller for the Wii U console, weighs approximately 500 grams or about 1.1 pounds. The gamepad features a large touchscreen and a variety of buttons and controls, and is designed to be held comfortably in the hands. The gamepad weight is distributed evenly, which helps make it feel comfortable and easy during extended gameplay sessions, which proves that chatbots aren't the future because there's no extended gameplay sessions on the Wii U gamepad.
No, but yeah, I mean that's pretty much what my scientific methods determined. So it's about 1.1 pounds. I mean, but again, so obviously me versus ChatGPT just giving you some very general information, but I'm very scientific. 1 pound, 1.4 ounces, not this 1.1 pounds. I mean, come on, get out of here with that. Like, take that out of my laboratory, is what I'm saying to ChatGPT.
Take that out of my laboratory. A Kirby retrospective.
This is just,
I'm going to let
this. I don't wear this white coat for nothing. Okay.
Is that white coat or is that white powder?
Well, he has a sort of hat.
Sort of Breaking Bad,
he wears
if you will.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm underneath the laundromat.
John is and has always been the danger.
Say my name, Greg. Say it.
God. I'm gonna let the chat name the episode at this point. Like, just whatever. Just throw them out there.
Oh God.
All right. So what else? Anybody else got anything they want to touch on before we go ahead and open this up and potentially make a mistake?
I I don't know. Like other than the general impression that I like this game maybe less than I should, but feeling like it's just a combination of factors, nothing that I can point to specifically. I don't know. It was nice to see like I guess the animal companions get a cameo in this game again.
Yeah,
Um,
it's quick, isn't it? Like, as
Yeah.
James sort of mentioned, it's when the paintbrush character is actually kind of fashioning Kirby into a vehicle. There's like this interstitial part where he becomes the animal friends from Kirby's Dream Land 2, which is it's a cute reference for the Kirby fans who are playing it, but for everybody else, I guess, who isn't looking for it, it's just meant to kind of almost wash over them, you know.
There's
yeah.
a sequence in the end. So in the journal, when you collect pages and you can look at the journal, the secret diary or whatever, there is one where it shows all the models for the Kirby friends, and basically it's I can't remember what the name of the character is who does the painting, who follows you around. So she's basically, look at Kirby's friends, they're weird, and I'm like, yeah, you're one to talk.
No, but that's for DDD Meta Knight, isn't it? And
Yeah,
maybe
there's
there's
another
multiple
one.
pages.
I thought there was one that has the animal friends.
There's another page where like, oh, here I'm drawing some animals, but
Oh,
it
yeah.
doesn't refer to the friends thing.
Okay.
What is her name? Because
I mean,
God
because the
damn it.
game spends so much time on its story.
Remember, the villain's name is Claysia, which was like
Okay.
a follow-up to Drawsia from the first
Adeline?
game. So
right, Eileen.
Eileen.
So what is the joke here? Eileen? Line?
it has to be a
Eileen?
joke. There's no
Right.
way there isn't one.
I mean, line.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I
the
guess
thing.
that's it. Yeah.
Adeline. Oh
Adeline.
no, it's Adeline. Adeline, according to Xander.
Adeline, right? Yeah.
No, it's not though. It's
It's not?
Eileen.
Yeah, it's
Elline.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is this one of those like maybe it's a different name in different regions things?
Xander is not British.
Well, I don't know. He could be. I assume he's googling. I like that we're now just.
This is weird.
Maybe Xander is secretly British. You don't know. Let's see. I like that it's specifically Bandana Waddle Dee in this plot description, not just any Waddle Dee. It consistently refers to it as Bandana Waddle Dee. Let's see.
Because other Waddle Dees are evil, I suppose.
One Day in Dreamland. Blah 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 blah. This says Elline.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's Wikipedia, so like, it's probably right, but maybe it's not. Maybe somebody's
No,
edited.
no, it is. I mean, I just played this game. Anyway, it's
Who can say?
I guess the joke is line. I don't know. It's not a great joke.
It's pretty
What
weak
are
sauce.
great jokes though is when you look at the figurines. Oh my god, the writing.
Yeah, the
everyone
writing in there is really good. Yeah.
I didn't
Everyone
look at
is
that.
made to sound so pathetic. Oh, it's amazing.
I would
Because
put it
like
up
all
and
the
look.
enemies are deeply sad. Like there was something going on at the Nintendo offices. But
Yeah, it's called the Wii U.
Oh,
I suppose so.
Exactly.
There you go. Adeline was the N64 games character.
Right. That was.
Oh,
yeah,
so
I
maybe
think
it's a reference to both.
Crystal shards. You have the kind of drawing. You have that kind
Yeah.
of. It's sort of similar, isn't it? Where you get the easel and like somebody's drawing things like So yeah.
Okay.
Also, kind of a callback.
We solved it. We solved the problem. So here's the problem. It's not really about line. It's it is. It's also Elaine de Kooning. That seems like a stretch. Nintendo, fuck off with that shit. In Japan, it's just a pun on the word for coloring, which would have been easier. Whatever. I like that their figure description is that they used to rule the world, but then Claysia went a little cuckoo. And now Adeline has teamed up with Kirby to solve the mystery of Claysia's utter madness, which apparently was some shitty party goggles. Adeline can draw magical rainbow ropes in the air and transform Kirby too. End quote. That's a pretty fucked up cosmology when you think about it. I mean, I'm trying not to, but I guess we're here. Does the final boss have a name?
The thing that
Yeah,
was
he's
possessing
the
the goggles or whatever.
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm
he's
not sure.
the dark. Oh God, he's the
Oh
dark.
yeah, I have seen this
Dark
somewhere.
Crafter.
Yes, the dark crafter.
There you go.
It's it's a real nightmare looking thing. But again,
So you get obviously previous Kirby Final Boss being Dark Matter, so it's they're trying to tie these things into previous Kirby analogs.
and also the continuation of giant hands as an enemy in games with Howl's involvements.
Oh
Yeah. Very well, forget it.
Giant gloves. Let's go with that. Piano
Yes,
gloves.
Yes. Giant gloves.
Oh, dear Lord. All right. Anything else you want to touch on before we try to figure out if we can bring people into this thing or not?
Bring
Well,
people into
I
our
said
nightmare.
we had a quite a long email in from someone identifying themselves as Jan Boshi.
Oh, please.
Probably does exist as a custom because there was that light blue one with Woolly World, so it wouldn't be that difficult.
That's the one I have actually. Is that light blue
They actually
one?
knit that into a yarn Boshi with that as the base. But there's a funny part here about playing it in multiplayer, a particular use case that I feel is worth mentioning. So yarn Boshi mentioned played exclusively in 2-player mode, always playing as Kirby. Waddle Dee controls like a simpler version of Kirby with, but like in a regular Kirby game with a spear. Like the Switch game, I found it to be a little bit insubstantial, but the trade-off is player 2 gets to view the gorgeous game on the television,
Oh, yeah.
whereas I am relegated to the gamepad. And basically just that it's, a sort of support play. There's so many Nintendo games that have this kind of, a player can kind of help out, kind of junior partner type of second player. But then mentions that after playing about the first world or so, I came down with COVID and was out of commission for a while. When I was feeling better, I was isolating, so we came up with the idea of me playing on the Wii U gamepad in the bedroom while player 2 played in the living room on the TV. This actually worked perfectly. It was a fun way to pass the time in quarantine. So the Wii U is still providing novel experiences ahead of its time. If only Wii U was that it just.
If only we had a massive pandemic a few years earlier, we'd have been fine.
When it's ostensibly a once in a century thing, I mean, what is 8 or 9 years earlier? But it's I love the idea of it facilitated local single console multiplayer, but with social distancing. that's pretty good.
God, that was Wii U's moment. It's
They must be pretty thin walls, though.
yeah.
Yeah, but I always had the benefit of that when I was using it in that way, kind of quasi-portable, is that, the wall's not very thick, so you could take it not that far, but 2 other rooms at least, and still have it be usable.
Man, I can't even get to the hallway.
Oh, you never had that luxury.
No, I mean that was the thing. Like when I would have got this game when it was new. Had I moved yet? I was probably just about to move. I would have been in the apartment, and the gamepad just didn't work. It just didn't. It just didn't work. It was non-functional. There's too much interference. So yeah, I even in the house now though, like with the plaster walls, like once there's a wall between me and it, done, gone. Which really kind of makes me want to read more about the technology behind this thing, but. That's not really here nor there. Anything else before we take a quick break and see if we can manage to add people to this thing? All right. We're going to take a little bit of a break, and when we come back, we're going to try to do call-ins. I know Matt had sent me a message earlier about using stages, but we might have to restart the recording to do that. So we'll figure that out in a second. So let's check back in about 5 minutes, and we'll pick up from there. Cool.
All right.
I am back. Who else is here?
Yep.
So, why is there a stop? No, we don't need a stopwatch in here. Like, it's all times are relative. I'm gonna make a note. So we what I want to know right now is if you can in the general chat and you want to speak about Kirby and the Rainbow Curse, please. Go ahead and just say so in the chat so I know how many people we have that are interested. Because we might have to jump over to a backstage to do this. Because the call-in thing is weird. But if it's only a couple people, we might just see if we can add them to the role that can talk and then bring them in that way. I'm glad we were able to run it out on the Twitch stream while I used the restroom and refilled my water bottle. I didn't play any music while we were gone because I forgot, but that's okay.
Oh.
Just a quick note, something I found in testing is that if we give them the role, they will need to leave and rejoin the call.
Okay.
It doesn't apply until they do.
That's weird. It's an odd thing, but I guess that makes some degree of sense. Okay. We might not have much of an audience that wants to talk. Obviously, if you are in the Twitch stream, you'll have to come into the Discord to do that. I don't think I have to tell you that, but
I would think that if you're listening to this podcast and you're a diehard Kirby fan, you're probably a sociopath anyways.
Great. Awesome. I'm trying to decide.
I think at the very least you would want to read your manifesto on this podcast.
All right, I wasn't sure if I was going to leave that in the final cut, but now that we're talking about the manifesto, we might be there.
That's the bar for you, right, James? It's like, as I have to mention a manifesto. All about manifestos here at RFN.
Oh, I didn't even look at the Discord forum because I forgot it was there because the Discord forum thing is so weird to me. It's like part of the joy of the Discord is just chaos. I like that it's chaos. That's what I want. I want just things happening in there. Oh, geez, there's all kinds of comments that I've missed. Oh, God. Let's see. Guillaume, you were in there. Do you see anything? Have anything that you want to talk about?
I'm in there. What?
In the Discord forum. I forgot that it was there because I don't even look at the Discord forums that much because it just feels like not Discordy.
Right. I didn't take notes on stuff to touch on. It's mostly people, Discord is more like a one line of communication kind of thing. Like it doesn't this doesn't have long form.
Yeah.
Yeah.
GX touched on a lot of things we were talking about earlier, but I really I don't know if we mentioned that you could just tap the box to break them, but
I guess I could read some of the longer impressions.
Yeah, if there's one that you that you recall, that was because I'd have to go read through all these now, and I don't think this is the right time to do it. I forgot that it was there. Chaos.rss noted that to be honest, I think most of the Wii U game is a bit of a dud. It looks gorgeous, and you can spend most of your time looking at the touchpad where the resolution's crunched. Controls are rarely as precise as you want them to be. Feels like you're overcorrecting constantly, and it's hard to maintain speed. Those two in particular were things that gave me trouble.
I would agree.
Like I always felt like I was overcorrecting to try to deal with the imprecision, and then I would die again.
Yeah, I felt like I was just the first thing that came to mind when I was playing was just like I felt like I was just juggling plates all the time. Like I'm trying to steer Kirby where he's going. I'm trying to avoid this over here. Meanwhile, I'm trying to keep his momentum up by tapping on him. I just always felt like I was, patting my head and rubbing my tummy all the time through most of this game.
The other thing that they brought up though that I don't know that we've mentioned it here was the rocket escape sequences. I think there's only 2 of them.
Do you mean the one where you have to draw your
path? But your path doesn't actually do anything. It's just an indicator
No,
for you.
It gives you it's for your For your information.
But
basically.
even then, I couldn't control Kirby around the path the way I wanted to because there'd be shit in the way you couldn't see on the map.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, and especially the second one. There's like, the game absolutely wants you to take those like booster rings,
Right.
and that kind of messed up with my planned path. Like I went and I shot past where I was supposed to take a turn, and so
Yeah.
But I finished that one like the first try. I had 0.66 seconds left. I was very happy that I managed to get all the chests and whatnot, and managed to finish. Yeah, in the nick of time, really, and not having to do it again. That was the greatest reward.
Pokepile notes that that's true. Notes, I find it kind of odd that Canvas Curse got a sequel over Mass Attack, to be honest. Mass Attack is a much more interesting game, and it feels like it would benefit from being on a system with a larger screen in a way that Rainbow Curse doesn't really, at least so far. I do think, we're talking about like that this is definitively a handheld game that's on a console because this is the console that Nintendo needed to put a game on. 3DS didn't necessarily need a game at this point. I do feel like a console Mass Attack would work pretty well because the Mass Attack really didn't do anything with the DS-iness of it. It was just kind of there because it was a very late DS game.
Yeah, I don't recall Mass Attack. I can't remember what the top screen did. If it interacted at all with the bottom screen, or if it was just a menu, or
I thought it was
a
just
permanent.
I thought it was just real estate. Of the free variety, but I would absolutely play some like a Mass Attack sequel. I feel like that would be a lot of fun.
Did you play Hey Pikmin?
I did not.
It was not at all a Mass Attack sequel, so you're good. I just wanted to bring it up, but no.
Okay.
It was kind of like you could be forgiven for thinking, oh yeah, the premise seems kind of similar. You're flicking these things at stuff using the touchscreen on a 3DS or a DS. But I guess developers matter. Al, maybe more talented than whoever made Hey Pikmin.
Stern Dog notes.
I believe that was an Arzest job.
It was. Stern Dog just notes, I just quote Old Man Yells at Cloud about drawing lines on a resistive-based touchscreen.
Yeah, I don't have issues with resistive touchscreens. I've always liked the DS and 3DS and Wii U screens. I don't know. I personally, I have trouble with capacitive touchscreens, usually, losing contact for a brief second or whatever it is. I don't find them all that precise.
My capacitive touchscreen on my laptop, which I definitively did not want, but it was the only option they had available, is too good at detecting contact and will regularly think I am pressing things when I am merely just adjusting where the screen is positioned. Sometimes through the back of the screen. So that's cool.
Yeah, I've got an iPhone 12 and it doesn't have the button anymore, right? And
No.
it just turns on the screen, decides like, yeah, the phone is angled in such a way, like I'm sure you want to look at me, right? Even though I'm in your pocket, yeah, you want to look at me, and oh yeah, like you're touching, the corner there. That means you want to turn on the flashlight, don't you? And so sometimes I'm walking around and I've got a lit flashlight in my pocket.
So I will
Amazing.
I will note that
Thank you.
two things. One, Dave97 asked if this was Hal's first HD game, which Seren confirms it was. So that's kind of interesting because you think about where they had been before that, and I guess that means during the entire Wii U era up until that point, they had not produced a Wii U game, and that seems right.
Which is pretty standard for them getting
Right.
to the sort of Kirby side scroller on Wii was really late. Return to Dreamland
Oh, yeah.
was like after New Super Mario Brothers, after Kirby's Epic Yarn. It was pretty one of the last ones in that vein on the system.
And then the other thing that happened is Stern Dog, after commenting on their decision to Old Man Yell at Cloud about resistive touchscreens, noted that they weighed their copy of Kirby Mass Attack on a scale for the pun. It's 0.3 pounds, in case anybody's curious.
Wow.
We're getting meta here. It was way too
Yeah,
much.
we are.
Way too much scale usage so far in this episode. I'm very uncomfortable about it. John, if you can go get your
Would-
postal scale and weigh your copy of Kirby Mass Attack, we might be able to
The,
figure.
I don't have a copy of Kirby Mass Attack, but if there's something else somebody wants me to weigh,
Don't worry,
um,
Mass Effect 3 on the Wii U is only 0.27 pounds.
This I feel like we're opening kind of worms here because like you could weigh like a Canadian copy of Kirby Mass Attack and probably have more mass because of the French manuals and shit.
It probably would. Well, that implies there's a manual. So on the Wii U one, there probably isn't. There's probably just a card that says "Look at the menu inside the game."
Sorry, we're talking about Mass Attack, right?
Well, I just mentioned that he also weighed Mass Effect 3 on Wii U,
Oh, I see.
which weighs less than Mass Attack. Because remember, the Wii U had the box where they'd cut out all the space with the hyper thin plastic and stuff.
Mm.
Did anybody actually say they wanted to talk, or are we just gonna talk about weighing games now? Because this is really getting somewhere. Also, Dave just pulls a quote that just says "weigh a copy of Kirby Mass Attack," which is the thing that did. Seren wants to talk. I'm not particularly surprised by this. All right. I guess we asked for this. So let's go ahead and do that. I think I've got Seren muted right now. Maybe not.
Hello.
Nope, I don't.
Remember, I was muted honor system. I could have unmuted this whole time.
I
You
do have a
cannot
button.
contain Seren.
I have a button.
sounds like a threat.
I know I can. I just hadn't.
So I feel good about this because we're streaming to Twitch, and the NWR Twitch has a rule that has been in place where only one person gets canceled every week, but one person gets canceled every week. And I think it was John, so I think I'm invincible.
Oh, good.
Oh, so I'm getting canceled this week.
Yeah.
For drug
For
references.
for what?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
No, believe me, this is John. If you have not paid attention to the reasons why people have gotten canceled on the NWR Twitch, they have been delightfully stupid.
Good.
Such as accidentally backing yourself into supporting the military-industrial complex.
I mean,
It happens.
that's not that's not even on the pantheon for RFN stuff.
It's
You're
whoopsie.
fine.
You're telling me that Twitch hates the troops?
It does.
Shameful.
Well, it depends. Are you on the U.S. Army channel? Anyways, Sander is sighing. Anyways, so talking about Kirby and the Rainbow Curse, I really just wanted to highlight the fact that the level design in this game versus Canvas Curse being longer, more quote-unquote console-length stages is so at odds with the momentum of Kirby and the control method and the comfort level of using the gamepad that like it really was a turn-off to go revisit.
I thought the.
Because
Oh, go ahead.
just because like, and so the multiplayer also, like I've played the multiplayer. It's bizarre. It's been described. Player 2 just plays a traditional Kirby game and can jump on the lines that player 1 draws.
Mm-hmm. Or
But-
can hit their heads on
Yes.
the lines. Yeah.
Or hits their heads and falls down a pit, 100%.
Yep.
The new Super Mario Brothers 5th player mode, where your job is to just ruin everyone else's
Yeah.
fun.
This was something I brought up in the 419. Basically like the gains that you make, the advantages of having a second player who's almost invincible and can go and wail at enemies while Kirby stays safe can be outweighed sometimes by the fact that you sometimes have to baby the second player around. Like you have to draw the little platforms for them to be able to stand on. So it's it is weird.
Yes. Also, sorry, Lemonade in chat just dropped a nightmare scenario about what if this game supported 2 gamepads.
What if? Honestly, I really wish 2 gamepads had been a thing, because there are
Sakurai.
Well, Nintendo said they were thinking about it.
No, the Nintendo said that the Wii U hardware supported it. They would just need to
Right.
turn it on one day if they ever felt like two people that had gamepads got together
I feel like
anywhere in the
I
world.
feel like there would be like imagine if you could play New Super Mario Brothers U, but with 2 players creating platforms or
I
destroying
think that they were
platforms.
maybe they were saving that for the Wii U successor, the Wii W.
Oh God! All right, Guillaume.
Anyway, I'm gonna go. Yeah.
Yeah,
see ya.
no. Bye, Guillaume. Guillaume's final episode, episode 800. We W. That's it. Shut it down. The other thing though about these long levels is I felt like their checkpoint. So the checkpointing was basically anytime a screen transitioned,
Yes.
but that felt really uneven because some of the screens were really hazardous and had long chains of stuff you had to do, even if they're like geographically roughly the same size, like the area.
yeah.
But the a space that you mostly just move through painlessly, like who cares, versus one where it's like it spikes in lava all the way down. Where
Yeah.
it just it felt like this game wasn't play tested in like a really specific sort of way that I'm not used to from a Nintendo published game.
I mean, I would counter that and say that I'm sure they play tested it, but what they found was probably so fundamental, and Nintendo as publisher probably said, no, you don't get to delay.
I mean, maybe, but like some of this stuff, it feels like it would have been you found it fairly early, like fairly early on, going like, I don't know, this one's got problems. Let's take a step back at this. I don't know. It's like the imprecision that we talked about with Kirby's stuff. Like there are levels designed around a precision you don't have. Like they would have known the relative imprecision that Kirby has from the beginning. I mean, it was the core idea for the game.
Oh, 100%.
So it feels almost like the level designers weren't taking that into account when they should have been.
Yeah.
Maybe that's
No.
it. They just weren't.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like this feels like the like my read on this is HAL Laboratories got told you need to make a game for the Wii U. They probably got told this at the start of 2013 when everything was panicking.
Right.
Apparently, this part is silent on Twitch, by the way.
What? How is it silent on Twitch?
No, Matt says he hears it on Twitch. It's GX's problem.
Okay, good. I mean, not good. I don't want you to have problems, but that literally makes no
Anyways.
sense because I'm looking at the levels.
Okay, never mind. Just keeping an eye on chat. No, but like this tells me, like my guess is they go back to 2013, and tell HAL Laboratories and every development team, fuck, Wii U, what do you got? And they said, you have a touchscreen, we can make a touchscreen tech demo-y thing. And they said, good, figure it out. And then they probably spent a huge chunk of that development time on the graphics. Because they've never made an HD game before.
That's true.
And then what time is left?
Not much.
Hello? Game's got to ship. This game was like Valentine's Day 2015. This shipped or something like that. This is using. I don't have anything online pulled up, but I did pull up the ranking Nintendo games that has things chronological. This is the first Wii U game that Nintendo released that year. So like, this probably finished November 2014. So like less than 2-year development cycle. And yeah, it was released between Triple Deluxe and Planet Robobot. So like, I don't know.
Yeah,
This thing has always just felt weird and out of place with the franchise.
that must have been a really like chaotic time inside, especially inside the Kyoto office, because you figure like they would have sent Intelligent Systems that same question. Of course, they're technically independent companies. Same with HAL. Although I think, do they both live in the office, or is just Intelligent Systems over there?
They don't both live in the office, but they both are adjacent.
Yeah, like because Intelligent Systems' response was, "So we've got this game, you see." and it's got Idols, but also it's got SMT content and Fire Emblem content.
Oh no, because that was developed by Atlas.
Oh, that's true.
No, Intelligent Systems games on Wii U were Pushmo World and Paper Mario Color Splash.
Oh, that's right. So they got stuff out. They were MVPs. They put stuff on shelves, which is the goal.
Yes, they put out a Wii U eShop game and a Wii U disc release game. And was that Wii U disc release game Nintendo's final first-party exclusive? Yes. And it shipped 4 years after the last Paper Mario game, like they always fucking do.
Oh my god. To Donald noted, I thought this was the last Wii U game announced before Iwata had the We Are Creating Something Called NX, but also making mobile games conference, but that fell to Mario Party 10 because of course it did.
Yes. Like truly, like this was the dire times of like, yeah, that first chunk of 2015 was Kirby and the Rainbow Curse.
E3 2014 was the announcement.
Yeah. Oh yeah, God, E3 2014. Yeah, so that's right around just after Mario Kart 8. That's right after Mario Kart 8.
Right, which will save the system.
And then didn't, so then they said, fuck!
Yeah.
What's our next console?
Everything's bad. Everything's bad. It's interesting though that like we don't normally revisit the Kirby weird spin-offs. Like they just kind of go when they do their thing. Like it seems like making another Epic Yarn would have been obvious because it did reasonably well. Instead,
but that was Good Feel, and Good Feel was busy making Yarn Yoshi.
Right. Yeah, that was another Epic Yarn. It was just this do it with a different character.
And that was announced 2 months after the Wii U launched, when they said, fuck, fuck, fuck. And it's funny because there was Kit and Krista had a fucking podcast that there was a clip that went viral that I saw that was like talking about that first direct from the NOA PR perspective, where they got briefed on the lineup and that it was an urgent direct, and they said, wow, that's amazing. Are these like this year games? Because if so, we have like the best lineup of all time. And then they were told, no, that's every project in development at the company.
That Xenoblade X trailer is amazing.
Yes.
Everything's from the first 5 minutes of the game.
Yeah, it's like, no, this is every project that has been greenlit. Was in this presentation.
Actually, that's not true. There's one part of the Xenoblade X trailer that's not from the first 5 minutes of the game. It's when they show the main character that doesn't exist by the time the game comes out because they've cut them.
No, and then my other question is specifically at James and Greg.
Oh boy.
Which is that I've had you both rank all of the Nintendo games up to a certain point. Oh. James has not ranked 2021 and 2022. Greg has not ranked 2022. It's fine. This is not me suddenly making this a rankings call.
No.
But for this, James, you gave this an 8 out of 10, and Greg, you gave this a 7 out of 10.
Yeah.
Having gone through the experience of this retroactive, and I'm not updating anything, but having gone through the experience of this, would you stand by those scores?
No, because I was rating it based on what the impressions that I was given. I had not played it. I actually found the game to be kind of like when it was going okay, it was okay, and that was like the high watermark for me. I could say 6 or a 6.5, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Yeah, I would say the same. 6, no higher than a 7 for me.
Yeah, I would. I don't think I could get past a 6.5 because there's just too many times where the game just doesn't feel like it's congruent with what it's asking you to do and what its controls let you do.
Yeah, agreed.
Which is a bummer.
Yeah, I mean that's it. I would say probably somewhere in that 6.5 region would be kind of where I was after this playthrough. But 7, we didn't do half increments.
No, we didn't do half.
So I think 7, he could have fallen on the 7 side or the 6 side, depending on whether you're feeling generous that day or whatever. So it's still pretty consistent with it. But yeah, I mean I will say one thing that's kind of interesting about this is that like it does still have lives. But
it does.
Unlike Canvas Curse, it actually keeps tally of your extra life sort of pot. So, because I think with Canvas Curse, it's like you can build up quite a lot of lives quite quickly from collecting things and whatnot, but then it just forgets them. Like so, if you've been played a few levels in a row and you might have built up like double-digit lives, but then you switch off the system, you come back, you boot up the save file, like it goes back to the standard number when you begin. So whatever that might be, I can't remember, it might be 3 or 5, something in the low single digits at that point. Whereas this just remembers them, so chances are you're going to build up a pretty big stock earlier. I mean, admittedly, this is me playing the game when I've played the preceding game of the series before, and I played it before, so I kind of know what I'm doing. But you're going to inevitably build up a stock of lives, at which point they do kind of become more irrelevant. So
go ahead.
Sort of progressive in a way to say, okay, yeah, let's let them keep the big stock of lives, But on the other hand, it makes it a little bit more kind of, well, why didn't you just get rid of them altogether? Kind of thing.
That would make more
sense. Nintendo was just reticent to do that. They held on until the Switch, basically, until Mario Galaxy.
A lot of the games do have. Yeah, a lot of the games that around this time just had it's really easy to get more, but we're not going to get rid of them. That was kind of the attitude a lot of the time.
By the time Odyssey came out, they figured it out.
Yeah, then it's like, actually, let's just dispense with them.
So I got up to about 15 in this playthrough at my peak, but I got stuck in 6-1 actually, and just burned through a whole shitload of them real fast.
Yeah, it was the same thing with me. I think I went in there with 11 lives, and I lost all of them. I had to restart it.
I got down to 5, and then towards the very end in the last boss fight, I got down to 0. And what's interesting is I got down to 0 when you're in the rocket ship form, the second part of the last boss. And the one thing a game predictably did, it wasn't give you health, because sometimes it would give me so much health, way more than I need. Other times it didn't give me any. Was it always gave me a 1-up almost right at the very beginning of the boss fight when I was at 0. Before I was at 0, it never gave me 1. But once I was at 0, it always gave me 1 to try to keep me in that fight so I could keep going at it. And the only reason I was running into trouble with that fight was I would basically charge up. I get the stars to charge up to use the superpower, which is how you have to hurt that boss. But if you hit one of his attacks while you're in the superpower, it breaks your superpower. Like if you could just damage shift through it, and maybe you take the hit, but you still get to get through, I would have won that boss on the first run.
That is the challenge of it, is navigating through the increase. Each time you do it, it's like a 3-hit thing.
Right.
Just stop me if you've heard this before with a Nintendo associated game. But the patterns of the mines or whatever they are that you have to kind of navigate through to hit him, they get more intricate. But there is a really sort of cheesable way to get the last hit, which is if you've got a sort of hit in reserve yourself on your health bar, anytime you get hurt, he stops to giggle.
Oh.
Getting hurt, which then means you could just charge up that attack and hit him completely unencumbered. There will be no obstacles. So just get hurt deliberately before you activate the super attack, and then activate it while it's laughing at you, and then you shut it up, and he's done.
I had no idea.
I had no idea. The issue that I was running into was that you still have to get through it just to get the stars to charge up the attack, though, which I feel like that should be enough.
Navigating through that, they said almost like a maze of the scrolling maze, a little bit like a shoot 'em up in a way, like these sort of corridors of deadly things to collect enough to have the super attack.
But also the fact that you're going diagonally was messing up with my perception.
It doesn't
and sometimes
help.
I just, I could not draw I'm still not sure what was the correct way to draw those lines, because sometimes it just felt like the stuff that he was sending at me would go through them or would go.
So
I don't know.
Basically, you draw the line parallel to the line of the mines, and when they hit, it'll destroy the line, but it'll destroy them. If you try to draw a line through the mine, that doesn't do anything. And if you draw the line in such a way that it hits one mine and the other ones don't hit at the same time, the line will go away and the others will pass through. You basically
but at the same time, You have to move. You have to steer
Kirby
towards
around. Yeah.
the stars. So
Right.
I don't know,
It's-
but I managed on the second try. But I think I got lucky a little bit.
The fact that it just will randomly decide to get in that chain of I'm just going to keep attacking over and over and over again. Good luck getting through. That was really annoying because I would try to cheese it and get one thing I don't like is that if you fully charge the star and then you fully charge again, you don't get any credit for that second charge, right? Doesn't it just reset the counter to 0? So I get up to 100%. I now have the superpower. Then the counter goes back to 0. I collect more stars, and the percentage keeps going back up. Does it
Right.
just cycle?
Yeah, you get multiple. Yeah,
Okay.
definitely. You definitely can have ones in reserve, essentially. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of it's an interesting choice that. Like I said, I think I like the idea of having the stars like kind of the idea of the kind of getting bonuses for chaining them together quickly. It's essentially okay, yeah, there's collecting things, but then there's if you're collecting them in an efficient way, you get rewarded for that. And of course, in a regular level, a lot of the time that's reflected in the score you get at the end and what medal you get. Because how many stars you get in its higher level gives you a score, and if it's over a certain threshold, you get gold or then silver, bronze, and it's just kind of say, okay, we've got an incentive to collect stuff, but then there's a kind of additional thing of you're rewarded for doing that in an efficient way where you presumably you're drawing precise lines and you're maintaining Kirby speed rather than just kind of circling back around again and again and again to pick up a stray star. So it's kind of incentivizing you to get better at that. And I think if you do get better at that, you'll enjoy the game more because you'll have like more strict control over Kirby rather than kind of if you just blunder your way through everything, you won't get better at those sort of fundamentals. So I think that's a reasonable decision. But yeah, these sorts of attacks being kind of a scarce resource, I'm not as sold on.
Right.
Because like there's certain aspects, not that many I don't think, but there are like it's one of those like loading screen hints is that it's like try using that supercharge super kind of dash against suspicious looking spots. And it's like that really doesn't that doesn't jive at all, does it? You've got a scarce resource, but then it's sort of advocating for you to use it kind of speculatively, frivolously. Well, that might be a secret. Let's try that. Like, that doesn't go together for me at all. So I don't like that part of it. I know. I think somebody may have already mentioned the idea that like there's one of the Kirby amiibo like can just give you more of these charge attacks if you scan it. Also, you mentioned health earlier was one of them. I think perhaps the dash attacks is another. But yeah, that's a little awkward for me. That doesn't sit as well with the whole kind of scheme. Like maybe it could have been, the kind of thing that you often get where it's like, okay, if you've collected enough stars, you could do a super dash like really quickly. Whereas if you don't, like maybe you have to like sit and charge it up for longer or something. Possibly like exposing you to more risk of damage, like rather than just like no. If you haven't got enough, you just can't use it. Like if you're gonna, or certainly you don't have that, and then also have this inducement to try it out on suspicious parts of the environment and all that. That to me is just not coherent kind of pairing of a mechanic and level design. So there's that. But I guess it kind of substitutes, as we touched on a little bit earlier, for the use of the copy abilities in the DS game Canvas Curse, which is interesting because, like, on the one hand, it's kind of ties it a little bit more into mainline Kirby, and it also kind of gives more variety for the physics of Kirby and how he interacts with the lines you draw and stuff. You can have like the needle kind of power up that means he sticks into things. Obviously, the stone power up, so he just drops straight down and rolls really fast and stuff. Even like the wheel one where you can do things quickly, but it's so restrictive. It was because like if you take one hit, you lose it.
Yeah.
And that is to me like really surprising. Like I think it's a matter of how they decided to use it. They decided to use it as essentially, well, you don't really particularly need the copy abilities for anything that's going to get you to the exit. It's for the medals, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
okay, the medals are almost like, it's like, oh, a little bit like, you remember Tiny Mario in New Super Mario Brothers, right? It was like, oh, if you get to this part of the level without getting hurt once, like by being Tiny Mario, then you get to go in this secret exit. It's a little bit like that for the medals. It's like, okay, yeah, if you've kept the the spark Kirby up to this point, here's a barrier. Now you can break it with the sparks and you get a medal. If you don't get there without getting hit, you don't get the medal. Like it's that kind of thing. But it's just really limiting then, because like it's so easy to get hurt a lot of the time, especially because like these Kirby
The screen
Bowser
is so small. The
screen small, it's not that precise, and the Kirby power ones, like he moves in different ways a lot of the time, so you're almost like just as you're getting used to the way he moves in this state, it's like, oh, I've been hurt and now the power's gone, and you don't really get a very great chance to learn like how to use it best and stuff. So that was far too restrictive for me. I know it's been said about Amazing Mirror that that's quite sort of weirdly punishing in terms of how easy it is to lose an ability when you need to take an ability somewhere to open up a new path in that non-linear kind of Kirby game. But this is just like, it's one hit. I mean, across the
Jeez.
board, and it does feel like it's kind of it limited what could have been kind of interesting about copy abilities in that game, or certainly more interesting about copy abilities in that game.
Yeah, and I found that I don't know if it's the Wii U playing on the Wii U affects any of that, but I found that I had trouble touching Kirby to make him roll or activate the power up. Like if you're one pixel off, it doesn't do it. And sometimes I really ran into problems trying to fight enemies because in Rainbow Curse, that's just the way that I dash into the enemies and I take care of them that way. I tried to do the same in Canvas Curse. I had more trouble because it was so finicky. It was easier to touch the enemies to stun them, and then Kirby touches them and kills them. And
that's how you steal the powers, right? Like you have to stun them.
Although you can also
touch them.
Yeah, you could also run into them. Like you could dash into them, but you'll sell that power anyway. Anyway, but yeah, like even like I had trouble activating the powers. The game asked too much precision, and it's a frustrating experience.
It can be. I do think at any time you're sort of tapping Kirby to activate something which is relatively small on screen, especially on a small screen, as was the case with the original DS. That can be a problem, and even in Rainbow Curse it rears its head a bit, because again we said these like super dashes or whatever are like often very important. It's like, okay, you've got enough to use it once, but you can only use it once if you haven't had more stars collected, and it might be to break open a bit of the scenery to get a treasure chest. It might be to damage a boss in a particular damage window, and if you get it wrong, like either you probably just have to move on with the level at all, and miss it for that run through the level, or if it's a boss, you'll have to go through another cycle and build up more by collecting more stars. Right. So it's like very important that you get it right. But anytime it's like, okay, I've got to get Kirby, I've got to tap and hold, and build it up, and then sort of let him go and set it off at the right trajectory. There's a lot to go wrong there. And again, that doesn't really match up very well with something that's limited use. But it's I don't think it's doesn't work at all. I still feel like in the boss fights and stuff, it's still they're not hideously difficult. It's not massively frustrating or anything for the most part. This is still a game that you're going to be able to get through without terribly much resistance or whatever. But it does just feel a bit awkward.
Yeah, I just felt like having to focus on collecting the stars, then charging it up and positioning myself where I wanted Kirby to be, and then charging it. That felt like a lot. Just a whole lot to juggle.
Yeah, it could be, especially if there's other hazards going on in the stage, like lasers you have to block and stuff like that. All right, so we've got one more person who wanted to call in, and it's GX. So I'm waiting for GX to to hop in. So let me go ahead and unserver mute.
Pardon me, I believe you mean the Artist GX,
I don't know. Do I?
Formerly known as.
presently known as.
Presently known
All
as.
right.
Okay.
Created.
You got to have that branding. You got to have that branding.
I didn't realize my mistake. So
Uh,
yeah, go ahead.
yeah.
What did you want to talk about?
I want to talk about the pacing of this game. And like obviously there's the issue where Kirby rolls very slowly, and like there's a good comparison to Canvas Curse, where Canvas Curse is just asking you to, number one, it's a much more smaller, more narrow game, and so it makes a bit more sense that it takes a little bit less time to get through, but also things are much more compact in Canvas Curse. Also, it's a game that just asks you to boost constantly.
It does.
Rainbow Curse, not so much. It feels like Kirby moves significantly slower. The areas are much more open. There's just less in them, even if the level design feels more designed, purposeful. But also, I have a constant irritant with certain games where there's a point where if a level takes too long to get through, I feel like a designer should say, okay, cut this thing in half. And I did some quick recording, time measuring, I should say. And like it was taking me about, on average, about 9 minutes per level of this game. And that's a lot of time to really get through a game where you have to keep a constant eye on it, despite the fact that it moves as slowly as it does. Whereas Canvas Curse, I would say I'm averaging about 3, 4, maybe 5 minutes, and I'm talking about stages where I am going around trying to explore and find these secrets and everything. I'm really kind of just struggling to figure what they don't have a lot of ideas. It feels like they have some ideas that they could have just split into 2 levels. Is that something that generally bothers you guys?
I definitely, I don't usually go like, God, the levels in this game are so long, but I definitely had a moment a few times last night in particular as I went through 4, 5. I went through 5, 6, and 7 last night. Where I thought like, God, this level's really long. Why does it feel so long?
And you don't have an indicator of where you are in the level either. A lot of the time,
all you have is when you find
you think you're kind of coming. Yeah, you think you're kind of coming to the end of it, but then you're like, oh my God, here's a whole other section to it.
The chest could be an indicator.
That's
like,
it.
Okay,
Right.
I've got 3 now.
Yeah, 60% through the level. Yeah.
Most of the way
Yeah.
there, yeah.
But
It's kind of
I wasn't
imperfect.
collecting those, so
You
There you
don't
go.
always get them. That's
Yeah.
the thing, you don't always get.
Yeah.
A lot of them are pretty visible, whether you get them or not. But sometimes they're not. As we already mentioned, there are some obscured areas and things. So, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, I only played it. We already touched on. They're called gamepad battery concerns. I only ever did one world at a time. So I think that probably mitigated the potential for feeling like it was dragging. Compared to perhaps other people that were playing in bigger chunks, but I would say some levels felt a little bit long. I kind of feel like it's maybe part of this notion of like we've got to meet the standards of the side scrollers that were happening at the time. But also, I wondered if it was just like a vestigial thing, because it's like each world in Canvas Curse had 3 levels in it, right? This has 3 levels in each world, but if you think of the side scrollers that were about, at the time, New Super Mario Brothers, and all these sorts of things, Kirby's Epic Yarn included, they have way more than 3 levels. You know what I mean? Like you could surely have like split the 3 into 5, had a sort of similar amount of content. It almost felt like, well, what's the decision to have 3 levels, but then like to mirror what with the structure of the original Canvas Curse, but then it's but they're longer levels, because this is bigger. This is a big console version of this. I just wonder whether that they kind of tied their hands on a sort of relatively trivial, callback to a game that was getting on for was nearly 10 years old at the time. You know what I mean? And, I almost hope that wasn't the case, because that would be kind of a silly thing.
I
To
definitely
sort of lay the foundation on.
when I realized it was 3-1, so 3 in a boss fight. I definitely, and it was always going to be 3-1. I definitely had the feeling of like, that seems oddly restrictive. Like, why not? Because the thing is, a lot of times they'll introduce an idea for a level, and then they'll iterate on it in that level, and that's the last time we'll see that idea. Whereas you could have said like, "Hey, we've got an idea. We're going to intro. This is more the Super Mario Brothers way. We're going to intro it in X-1, X-2. We're gonna iterate on it. X-3, we're going to iterate on it. We're going to introduce some pivot, and then maybe even 4 and 5, and then whatever the last one is, X.N, X-N. We're going to basically give you an exam. Have you mastered the thing that we introduced in this world? And
I have another wrinkle to add to this, and this is a game that seems to want to have you go back and collect the collectibles hidden throughout the level, and that doesn't work so much as a sprint as it is. It feels like a marathon whenever going back.
One of the things is with games like this in general, it is much quicker going through the levels when you've kind of played them recently, and you're like, oh well, I got 4 out of the 5 whatevers, the various things that it could be, and it's the second one that I'm missing. So you could start to like say, oh, well, I'll sprint through this part of the level and then kind of slow down for this bit because I think this is where it could be, and then kind of just sprint to the end to kind of cash in what you've got. So you could take the edge off it a little bit with that kind of play if you're able to kind of zero in a bit on the part of the level that you think is where you need to, kind of more thoroughly explore. But it doesn't fully, kind of compensate for the fact that the level is as drawn out as it is, and it's not always possible. I mean, it really depends what sort of tells there are in the level design to say like, okay, yeah, it was probably here. I just missed it, or it was definitely there and you just didn't do the right thing, kind of, like those timed rooms that appear, the challenge rooms.
Yes.
Whereas, okay, well, you've got one shot of this, to kind of do this in 15 seconds or whatever it is, where you got to, might have to, kill a few enemies and then collect the chest in time or something. And if you don't do it, then you don't do it. And then it's just going to be a case of, okay, well, I know where that is. I know broadly how to do it. I've just got to go through the level again to get it there. So yeah, that's an argument for smaller levels helping with people actually bothering to get all that stuff. I would say, if you think of something like New Super Luigi U, that has 3 star coins, just the same as the Mario, New Super Mario Brothers games do. But because it's everything's so brief, it was always kind of just a much more inviting prospect to say, oh no, I'll go and get all the. I mean, I generally get all the star coins in all the New Super Mario Brothers games, but in Luigi, it was like, yeah, I can knock that out pretty quick because it's such a compact space that you roughly where you've got to deal with, and it's never very long to get through a level.
All right. Well, any last thoughts before we do some close up?
Well, if anything, this retroactive will probably get me to go back to the Wii U for a bit.
Yeah.
That is plugged in. Like,
Same.
why not?
I've got it here. I might as well play with it.
Yeah.
Some of us never left, right?
Not you. You just told us it was in the closet 3 hours ago.
No, it wasn't in the closet.
Oh.
No.
Okay.
I've had mine hooked up forever.
Oh.
Yeah,
and even if it were in the closet, like, you can still play it. The walls aren't that thick.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, no, I've had mine hooked up to my TV. It just sits dormant a lot of the time. Except when I want to play Zombie U, you know how it is.
There's actually it's hooked up to a TV in the closet, and a disgraced rapper is playing it in there.
There we go. That's
Wow.
a good reference. All right. Well, I think that is going to do it for our retroactive on Kirby and the Rainbow Curse. I want to thank everybody who listened today live, everybody who's listening on the show, obviously, and everybody who played along with us, posted comments, all the above. I'm
By
trying.
the way, I suppose I should warn the two motophobes out there. I guess like we're sorry to have picked this game, that you couldn't join us. We probably won't do a retroactive with Clay Fighter or any.
I didn't realize. I didn't know what that was.
You say that, but I mean, it is on the Mega Drive / Genesis Mini 2.
Oh
Clay
dear.
Fighter. So I mean, this
Why?
is clearly a cultural touchstone. So I mean, we ignore it at our own peril. And dare I say, we may not be all that hip or with it if we ignore Clay Fighter.
As we are often worried about being both of those things.
Oh no, I mean exactly. We've cultivate this constant state of peak relevancy. So I mean, we wouldn't want to lose that by not acknowledging the ongoing, enduring legacy of Clay Fighter. What is that doing on that? That is just bizarre. Not on the Japanese one, funnily enough.
Obviously, the better version then. Just by you don't have to play Clay Fighter even though it's on there, but knowing it's there, letting that into your home.
We get these people that do their instant sort of hot take reactions on trades in sports to judge the Luna for Clay Fighter trade. Can we get who won the trade?
I don't think that's a hard call. All right. Well, I guess I want to do a little bit of close up then, since this is episode 800. We haven't really talked about it because we've kind of hit this point with anniversaries where episode 400 was half of the episodes ago, which is nuts to think about. So yeah, I mean, I guess first off, you three gentlemen plus Johnny, who's not here, just thank you all for doing this. What are we at? Like 14 years? This absolute
more 16, isn't it? 16 years now.
It can't be. It can't be 16.
The show is 16.
The show is 16.
Years.
Yeah,
16 and a half, really. But yeah, for us,
God,
it's
just
for this crew,
wild.
14 long years.
More like 10 for me, but
There you
it's
go.
still long enough.
It's long.
Mhm.
All of you are like absolutely integral to the show and it functioning and the audience that we have and it being fun to do. Some of us more than others. John. No, if John wasn't here, I'd be the one getting made fun of. So I need John here. This is.
I am a lightning rod for ridicule, if nothing else.
I mean, have you looked at what's currently going on the Twitch feed?
No, I have not.
You probably should look.
I'll have a look.
But
it's did they add the emote? Is that what they did?
no. What's actually in the video is the part that I think is relevant.
Oh boy.
And also the audience. Seriously, like I can't believe y'all. I mean, we hear people like I've listened to every episode, and my brain hears that and goes, "But why?"
Yes.
Because that just seems like just the thought of it feels exhausting.
Yeah, that's a whole lot of talking.
Somebody posted how many minutes of the show they had listened to according to Spotify this year, and it came out to like 22.9 days. And it's just like 22.9 days of this. You guys, seriously. But thank you all. Thank you guys for doing this with me. Guillaume, thank you for editing. Greg, thank you also as well for your time as editor. I know firsthand that can be a chore. This one's going to be fun because we're approaching 4 hours of raw audio. I guarantee there won't be any problems. Oh God, help me. My computer's going to melt. So we'll figure that out in a minute. But as always, email. Hey, email. Remember we do an email segment? Well, we haven't done a lot of it lately, but I promise you, now that we're approaching the holidays where we're going to take a week off so we can do the Xenoblade 3 Xenoblade 3 spoiler cast where there's no email. Someday we'll do email again. It could even be next week, which is recording time like 4 days from now. So you could and be involved. Like, you've been listening to the show for a while. You participated in the show today. You were in the Discord or the Twitch chat, or you maybe even called in. Oh my God. People post. Matt just posted, I started listening to the show when I was in high school. I'm about to turn 30. God damn it. So you can participate the other way, which is to send an email. Emails go to rfn@nintendoworldreport.com. That's John. For episode 800, I'm going to let you say the email address.
It's rfn@nintendoworldreport.com.
Nice.
I mean, I'm doing it straight, right down the middle, just like I always do. I don't know why you make this big deal out of it
All right.
every time.
First off, fuck you, sir. That's not. You're not going to gaslight me here when I'm trying to close up episode 800.
Right down the middle.
Right down the middle, something. And yeah, I don't really have any other thoughts. Do y'all guys want to add anything, or we want to just pick some music and call it a day?
Yeah, I'm still got no love for Kirby.
We know. Kirby
games are for babies. I'll just leave it at that.
These are babies that have very forgiving sense of stress from this game.
Yes. This is the one Kirby game I will say that it's not for babies. It's for psychos.
Babies with fine motor skills.
I said it's kind of technical for a Kirby game.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want a third game? Oh God. Oh no. I think somebody in the chat was like, a massive attack, not Mass Effect, would be an interesting retroactive. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to deal with pirated DS carts, but hey, anything could happen.
It'll probably be a while, by every metric. I mean, it'll be a while.
I'm gonna look. All right. So hold me to this. We're gonna do more than one retroactive year.
With Kirby having taken a slot now, it's only fair that it would be quite a few before.
I agree, but we will do more than one of these a year. This is my solemn pledge. That's not even that difficult to achieve. I just have to literally do it. I have to literally say, hey, let's do it, and then we will do it. We will do more than one retroactive in 2023. And yes, I also would play Kirby Mass Effect. I've been talking for 4 hours. Cut me some slack.
I misheard you just earlier, and I think if I had a cover band, it would definitely be Kirby's Massive Attack.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, you have to get 100 stars, and then you can use it. Yes. But I think that's time for us to end this. Also, because we're monopolizing the NWR Twitch, which is going to be doing an episode in like 2 hours, so we need to get the fuck off it. Gentlemen, thank you again. Greg, do you have any music picked out to end this?
I did. Well, yeah, I went through the soundtrack because something. There's lots of good stuff, and there's some fun remixes of old Kirby stuff as well that you open up in the game player by finding them in the treasure chests and stuff. So you kind of spoiled for choice. But I was just trying to find something I thought was most apt for the ending, something kind of kind of a bit more up tempo and whatnot. So I've actually gone from the music that you hear it a couple of times because the level concept comes up a couple of times when you're escaping the giant battleship scenario, as we already mentioned. I think it's just called Fly to the Exit. So you started off with some like speed metal percussion, but then by the end the organ comes in, so it's kind of like that's very prog rock to have that. So I just like the mix of things going on here. It's just a fun up-tempo piece. But yeah, I mean, it's a damn big soundtrack. There's lots and lots of music here, and a lot of it is pretty damn good. So a lot of ways it could have gone, but I like this one.
And you pretty much got at least one track every episode if you found all the every stage, and there's like 24 stages. So yeah, there's plenty of music here.
Yeah, and like just a bunch of stuff that's just there as like rewards. That's not even like tied to those callbacks to Kirby history, or loads of famous Kirby songs just done. If you think you've heard every version of Butter Building, you may not have done. I've heard the one in this.
Unheard Butter Buildings.
Yeah, on it.
Also, I want to throw a quick thanks to Matt for helping me set all the tech up here. And Xander has now updated the RFN retroactives list, so that's good. We now have what this was 40, 41, I think. Depends if you count the unofficial one or not. I probably shouldn't try to open an Excel spreadsheet as I'm trying to wrap the show. So, on that.
Well, before leaving the thanks, thank you, James.
Oh.
For hosting every time, and it's not an easy job. And you don't make it look easy, but you're doing it.
I'm sitting here going like, okay, it's coming. It's coming. Let's put my guard up. There it is. All right. Well, on that, I'm going to release everybody to enjoy the remainder of their Saturday. Like I said, there is a the NWR Twitch stream is going to be doing, I believe they're doing more rounds of Fire Emblem today at 7 Eastern. So if you want to catch that, that will be up soon thereafter.
Oh, we did get the chance to talk about that big trailer that Universal put out for Cocaine Bear.
Or the Mario Brothers trailer.
No.
Either or, very, very close. Very
Cocaine
close.
Bear,
They clearly demonstrated what they think is going to be the big breakout hit of 2023, and it is Cocaine Bear.
Cocaine Bear is also more on point for what we've been doing today. So,
the bit in the summary where it describes the fact that not only is it on, it digests or ingests all this blow. Like, not only is it now on a bloody rampage, but it is on the search for more blow. That was the bit where it's like, okay, this might be fucking incredible.
That's some Jaws.
He just now understands the fact that it's like, I gotta get more. This shit's great. Like, I mean
that's some more Jaws. That's some Jaws 3 shit.
I hope so.
If Universal came out. If Universal came out and said, like, witnessed the birth of a bear universe, I would be in.
Oh,
yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly.
Can we get the Polar Bear sequel? It's just everything's white and it can't figure out what's cocaine and what's just snow. It'll be great. What's snow and what's snow? Yes, Cocaine Bear is a real movie. You can Google it. All right, on that, we're going to end this Kirby retroactive that has come back to cocaine for the third or fourth time. On Cocaine Bear.
I don't know how I didn't mention it earlier on when we were talking about John Scales.
You've been hearing a lot of music because I'm just going to have it laying under this the whole time we're talking about Cocaine Bear. That's the good thing about OST music. It loops forever. And on that, bye, everybody.
Later.
Bye.
Bye.
Let's do a quick clap before we close it out. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Kirby